Hey everybody, right before the show, wanted to let you know we have an update to our Patreon. A brand new monthly movie podcast is available now for $10 and up patrons at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons. You want to hear me and Bob talk all about Mask of the Phantasm, the best Batman movie of all time? You can hear all about that in our long, almost 3 hours long podcast, patreon.com/Talking Simpsons.
I heartily endorse this event or product.
Ahoy, hoy, everybody. Welcome to Talking Simpsons, where we want to see you pee. I'm your host, Skittlebrow Enjoyer Bob Mackey, and this is our chronological exploration of The Simpsons. Who is here with me today?
Henry Gilbert, and it's both easy and fun to criticize, in my experience.
That's what we do for a living, and who else is here?
Wildcat superfan, Cat Bailey.
And today's episode is Bart Star.
Hut, hike, hike, hut! It's clobbering time.
This episode aired on November 9th, 1997, and as always, Henry will tell us what happened on this mythical day in real-world history.
Happy birthday to my mom, Bobby. The Montreal Screwjob happens at the WWF Survivor Series this night. Lisa Loeb's I Do debuts in the record stores. And the best movie ever, Starship Troopers, is #1 at the box office.
Oh my God, Starship Troopers. Oh God, I love that movie so much.
I love it too. Bob, I think you're a hater
I don't
of
like it.
Starship Troopers.
Really?
Yeah,
Why not?
I don't buy it.
You don't buy it.
I don't buy it.
It is satire. He meant to do it.
It's not a fun movie to watch in any case. RoboCop's way
It
better.
is so much fun. Oh my God, are you kidding me?
I agree with you that I like RoboCop more than Starship
All they do is
Troopers.
shoot at bugs. I know that's the point.
There
I know
was a
that's the
really
point.
good 20th anniversary retrospective of it where it points out that the best thing about that is that the two stars, the guy who plays a Marine and then his love interest,
Casper Van Dien and Denise Hopper.
they don't understand that it's satire.
Denise
So they
Richards,
play it
yeah.
all straight, and that makes it 10 times better.
And they're bad actors, so it's not fun to watch.
It's
That's my
true
opinion.
it's true that the commercials in RoboCop are better, but
Yeah.
overall, I find, and it's true, RoboCop is a better film, but I find Starship Troopers, I can watch that movie anytime, any place. And then the best part of it is how it makes the really crazy military sci-fi fascists nuts. They hate that movie so much because they're like, well, actually, I think that Robert Heinlein had a point about fascist society. And it's like, no, I'm gonna side with the guy over here who's like, nah, screw Nazis, just screw them.
I mean, my thing is, no matter what he's trying to say, it's just a boring movie for me.
Well, I disagree.
Where you just shoot bugs
Oh
over and
my
over
God.
again.
But that's
It
endless
is the
warfare.
opposite
Bob.
of boring.
You've convinced yourself it's good.
No.
Wrong.
Try and convince me at home, and I won't listen. I've made up my mind.
So the TV bits in Starship Troopers are also just so fucking funny.
Would you like to know more?
One of my favorites is one of my favorites is a kid saying like, "I'll do in my part," but also the TV talk show, like the Crossfire talk show, where they both agree that this war is correct. So they do not offer the war is bad counterpoint.
Why wasn't
on
that stuff throughout
state
the entire
media.
movie? It was only at the very beginning.
No, it wasn't. It was throughout the entire
They
film.
cut in a few times.
They show the Doogie Howser, famous guy.
Dr. Horrible.
Yes,
Dr. Horrible.
Neil Patrick
He has that whole thing where he's doing the experiments on the bugs.
and they have to censor the testing on the brain bug.
Exactly.
I love it because it's propaganda from another dimension. That's
It's great.
what I like about
and
it.
there's also that bit where there are all the little the cockroaches and all the kids are stomping on them. And
doing
there's
my
the mom
part.
going and laughing like a maniac in the background.
And also, I love how they cast Casper Van Dien's like frumpy liberal parents to be like, you can't do that. You can't join the army.
Don't join the military. You can get a deferment. No, I want to serve.
And also, yes, the Montreal Screwjob at WWF Survivor Series.
Yes, that's one wrestling thing I do know about.
What episode we explained that in full on, I think.
That would be on our Bret Hart episode
right.
from just last season with Matthew from Botchamania.
But the story is actually pretty interesting.
It's very interesting.
I don't care about wrestling, but I do care about
Sure.
reading about the background of wrestling, weirdly, because I think the personalities involved are really interesting, I guess. And the Montreal Screwjob is kind of the height of that, sorry, I don't know the wrestling terminology, but the backstage stuff combining with the stuff that's happening in the ring all coming together, and people, supposedly in the locker room, there are two sets of people facing off one another, and there was almost a brawl and stuff like that. It's crazy.
I know about the Montreal Screwjob like some Civil War historians know about like Gettysburg. Like, yeah, it's the long and short of it is that Bret Hart, previous guest star on The Simpsons, he wanted to leave WWF for WCW. When you leave, you're supposed to lose the championship. That's what you do on your way out. He didn't want to. He had in his contract limited creative control. He did not want to lose it in Canada, which is where he's from. WWF felt he should. He did not agree to that. They lied and they told him, okay, you won't lose. Then he goes to the ring and they do a false finish. They go like, no, you did lose. Get out of here. And they just run away. And it was this humiliating moment that kind of broke Bret Hart's spirit forever onward. It's a very sad moment. There's the documentary Wrestling with Shadows is a very good one about that.
Before we started this recording, I was the only one at this table who liked Super Mario RPG. So I'm full of contrarian opinions tonight, which will come out in full when we talk about sports.
Starship Troopers is a great film.
Watch RoboCop.
Well, Bob, I am also, though, with you as an anti-football person on this. But that is why we needed to have a football expert on this episode. So Kat Bailey is back.
Go
Kat.
football.
Skull.
So what's so good about football? Like, you've seen multiple football games in person. You've paid for this.
I sure have.
What's going on with that?
Well, at base, I think the thing that draws me in about football is the tactics of it. I like the way that they draw up the plays. I like the give and take between the defense and the offense. I like the way that you can see the adjustments happening in real time. At its absolute best, it truly is just this tactical chess match going on, and it's really fun to break it down in between. But beyond that, it's an incredible televised sport. You can hang out with your friends, you can drink, you can watch what's happening on the field, and then between plays, you can check Twitter and see what people are talking about, have some more drinks. Oh, some more stuff's happening on the field. Neat.
I can do that while watching cartoons, though.
Well, you could, but I like watching football. And
I see.
I think the thing that drew me in, football was the first sport that I really actually enjoyed. And what drew me into sports originally was it was a TV show where the ending was not predetermined. And so you could have this fairy tale story and it could come crashing down on you. And that was what happened to me the first year I started watching sports with the Gary Anderson kick in the Minnesota Vikings. And it was like fairy tale story, 15-1 season, journeyman who seems destined to come back and win it all for the first time, superstar rookie receiver, old veteran receiver who's going to win the Super Bowl for the first time, kick missed, Vikings lose, those narratives go unfulfilled. And
his life's over.
Yeah, and so you just go, oh, so I mean, that's every new season. You never know what's going to happen. That's a great thing.
But I like better when those stories are told to me in a documentary like 20 years after the football game is played.
I just think it's boring, and now I have an ethical reason to not like it, so that's good for me. But I would dabble in all of the sports when I was a little kid because I was just like, I guess, you're a little boy. This is what little boys do. I guess I'm supposed to do these things. So I did them, and I was bad at all of them, and I never did them. But I never really even wanted to engage with football because I'm like, I don't even like sports. And this is a sport where you want to like grab at me and shove me over. Excuse me? No. And like later in life, I had a friend. So I thought like, okay, I'm out of this, I'm out of the having to play sports period of my life or being forced to play sports or feeling obligated to play sports. And I was friends with a new friend in high school, and he wanted to play football all the time. I'm like, oh, I like filled me with such anxiety. Like, you're gonna ruin my jeans. You're gonna mess my shirt up. I don't want you touching me. I have space issues.
It was a perfect storm for me to get into sports because previously, before that, I did not like sports. In fact, I hated sports. And the perfect storm was I was in marching band, so I had to watch the football games. Like, I was stuck on this bench watching these games, playing the music. And that was where I learned about football for the first time. I was like, this is kind of fun. Everybody cheering. Okay, I get the rules now. Okay, this is fun. And then at the same time, the Vikings went 15-1 that season, and it was easy to get super swept up into it, and that's when I became kind of a nut for it.
And what do you like more, football or football?
I think I like soccer better than football.
Really?
Yeah.
European football.
Yeah, what the hell?
The advantage of soccer is, first of all, I like the culture. It's more fan-friendly. It's not as corporate and evil. The corporations are trying to take it over, but
I mean, it's hard. I mean, FIFA's a pretty big corporation.
If you go to the German Soccer League, for example, there is a rule that 51% of fans have to own the clubs. And tickets
that's
are
nice.
only like $10, $15 to go.
Wow.
They like specifically are keeping it affordable.
We need to nationalize the NFL right now.
But more importantly, it's 2 hours flat. It's done. 15-minute break in between.
Yeah, I mean that's why sports I really can't. They just take too long. It's just
Yeah.
It's sort of like how I feel about wrestling, where I respect it and it's fine if you like it, but you can't expect me to know about it. I just can't do it. There's too much of it. How do you do this, Henry? How do you know about all this wrestling and still play video games and watch anime and sleep and have a husband?
You have to make your choice. You have to make your choices. You know.
What am I doing with my life?
No, I admit wrestling is hard to fit in. I mean, I just this last weekend they had a thing that with its pre-show, I'm pretty sure it was longer than what the Super Bowl with pre-show content is, because it was 7 hours 10 minutes long with the pre-show. Like, how long is the typical Super Bowl?
Oh my God,
broadcast?
it's going to be like an all-day thing.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, it's going to be the game itself is going to be like 4 hours. But I mean, the thing is that you're hanging out with your friends and socializing and drinking.
I just like watching the commercials.
Oh, actually, we're recording this before the Super Bowl, so Kat, what's your lock of the week pick? And we'll see how right you were when this goes live.
Oh, the Patriots are going to win. I think
That's also what I hate about. That is what I hate about the NFL is the fucking Patriots. So I grew up in Jacksonville. Jacksonville Jaguars began when I lived there, so it was a perfect time to jump on board with the NFL. But they just always fell short. They've never even been in a Super Bowl. They've been around for 22 years now, 23.
they had a great year last year.
And then the fucking Patriots ruined it.
But you don't actually care.
For a moment, I cared. For a moment, I was
For a
like,
half
they're
second.
almost in the Super Bowl. I'm going to check this out. Oh, the Patriots. Any team but the Patriots would have annoyed me more. Like, that's like the most racist Republican team there is.
I know nothing
fucking
about
hate
football,
them.
but it seems like a conspiracy that the Patriots win every year in America.
Yeah.
I'm
about it.
contractually obligated to like the Patriots because a good friend of mine is a huge Patriots fan.
Nah.
And so we usually watch the games together, and I very politely root for his team. Even though when I was watching them this last time against the Chiefs, I was very quietly rooting for the Chiefs because I was like, not them again. No, they did it.
Not
Oh, God
again.
damn it.
Yeah. Ugh, yuck.
Sports.
Boo. All right. Well, that's the Cat's lock of the week. We'll see.
Sports.
Oh, I'm going to be totally wrong. Watch.
So this episode though is about child football, which
Yes.
that did scare me much more than Little League. Like the
Did
idea
your
of,
parents try to force you to play football?
no, they
yeah.
My dad was super into Little League, but I eventually didn't do that. It came close. I was like, this isn't for me. These sports. My brother did do soccer for a few years, like ages 8 to 12 or 14, I think, but that was it.
Yeah, I was never pushed into it. Just my friends were doing it, and I would say, I'll try this. And I learned I didn't like it, and I was bad at it, and I was embarrassed. So I just didn't do it anymore.
I was a swimmer. My parents signed me up for swimming. So.
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, I look back on it now, and if I could make young me do organized sports and live a healthier life, I probably would choose to do that. But younger, younger
Here's
me.
the thing:
then,
the culture's horrible.
It
Like
is,
these
yes.
the little kids who are playing sports and aren't good at it are little shitheads. They're terrible too, and they're terrible to nerds. Terrible to nerds.
Well, this is a nerd show, not a jock
Yeah.
show. So, well, that is what
So the thing is, I like sports, but I hate jocks. Sorry, jocks, I don't like you.
I always
We're
wonder.
going to lose all of our jock listeners.
I always
They're
wonder
lifting
that.
weights and just throwing them down in anger right now.
So whenever I have to cover Madden, for example, I always feel so out of place because they are a bunch of jocks. The community is a bunch of jocks. The developer is a bunch of jocks, and it's like, hi, also me, the nerd.
Well, at review events, you have to be the one girl there. Right?
Also that, yeah.
a woman. But yeah, like the
Everyone there is furrowing their brows, saying "duh."
well, because I've had the closest I've had to that experience as a game reviewer was I was the wrestling guy, and that was an interesting cross section because some Madden guys are also the wrestling guy at their place, but then also some anime guys are the wrestling guy at their place. So it's an interesting mix of nerd and jock Venn diagram crossing over. over.
The thing is, they're really nerds. They just wear backwards-facing caps and obsess about the football men rather than anime.
I mean, some comedian, I apologize, I'm stealing this from some comedian, I can't remember their name, but they had the very good point of just like, people cosplay as football players all day.
Oh,
they
yeah.
all wear the,
I never thought of
the
that.
jerseys. Like, it's the same deal.
And they sit there obsessing about what-ifs, stats. It's the same dang thing as being obsessed about video games or something like that. I mean...
And what are sports call-in shows but anime forums on the radio?
Yeah, exactly. Except instead of saying the writers are doing it wrong, the players are doing it wrong, the coaches are doing it wrong. Fire them!
Everything in my life would be fine if this coach was gone.
I got a point, Henry. Why I don't watch wrestling or sports is because anime battles are the ultimate form of sports.
But wrestling is just anime battles.
But anime's better. There's beams.
It's like, I mean, you're not wrong.
Exactly.
Oh, now I'm the odd man out here. Well,
They even have super moves, for Christ's
Exactly.
sake.
I mean, so do wrestlers.
They don't scream their moves when they do them.
They should, though.
Yeah, they should all be mic'd.
No, don't make me choose. Well, and then of course also with football there is the concussion issue too, which is just like, I feel this episode's all about child football.
It's the same with wrestling.
Which I feel like I'm not a parent and I don't know many parents, but I believe I've read a number of stories that just like, the kids don't play football now. They play soccer or some other
They
lower
still play
impact
football,
thing.
but they play flag football.
Okay.
Tackle football at a young age is generally agreed to be not great.
But even in high school, you're destroying brains.
Oh, for
like-
sure.
Yeah, flags don't care about your feelings, Henry.
But tackle football at any age younger than like 12 is kind of more or less agreed to be not a thing anymore.
You want to protect the brain.
And
during
not only
those
that,
years.
because Pop Warner leagues are having a harder time finding insurance. Yeah, insurance is increasingly not covering these Pop Warner leagues, so they are starting to fold. And that is probably the greatest threat to football is if the seeds end up going away, then you're just not going to have as much talent.
If you're not enforcing these children into this lifestyle, then possible football players will go to other sports and won't grow up to be the talent you can exploit and make broke later in their lives as concussed old men.
I don't think football as we know it is ever going away, but I do think that basketball and soccer are definitely going to subsume it in America.
As we've heard, it's going on the downfall these days because of the damn politics ruining it.
The NFL is a great uniter because liberals hate it because of the concussions and the corporate BS, and conservatives hate it because of the flag crap. Everybody hates the NFL. It's really remarkable, actually.
But why are the ratings still so high then?
Because it's kind of a drug. And when it comes down to it, it's once a week. It's for a very brief time. And when it's happening on Sunday, everybody's talking about it. And you can go to the bar and you watch the games and you're having a good time. And it's a routine for me. Like, that's a routine for me that's hard to break because it's like, all right, it's Sunday. I can go have brunch and watch the games. It's going to be fun.
So one of the reasons I have a thing about sports is because I'm expected to know things about them.
Why?
And when I don't, people seem upset with me, especially strangers. Like the worst thing that can happen to me in a bar or in a public place, mostly a bar because that's where you talk about sports. There'll be sports on the TV and a guy will be like, how about that, blah, blah, blah. I'll be like, yeah.
Yeah,
And I hope they will stop talking to me. But the other day I was just like walking to the grocery store, not expecting to talk about sports with anybody. And the guy stops me on the corner and is like, hey, did you see the score for the blah, blah, blah game? And I was like, you know what? Gonna try to get through this. And I said to the guy, oh, you know what? I must have missed it. And he furrows his brow at me. I use that expression twice in this podcast. He furrows his brow at me and he's like, that game is happening right now. And I was like, you're talking to the wrong guy. And I walk away. It's just like, I feel like I failed as a man by not knowing the score of an ongoing sports game that's happening right now.
But conversely, I'm like, I want to talk about sports. And then I'll be like, so about the sports. They're like, oh my God, a woman's talking to me about sports. Crap. What's going on? Yes, the score. And then they're like, oh, she does like sports. Oh, and we do actually want to talk about it. Okay. And so, like, I feel like I have to break the ice every time.
Yeah.
And now I don't even bother.
I can see that.
Yeah, it kind of stinks. So I wish we could reverse places in this case.
If that guy had asked me, like, what's your favorite One Piece arc or whatever, I'd be like, let's talk. Let's go get a beer. But no.
That's so weird, though, that people just assume that you like sports.
And I'm wearing, like, a pink hoodie with, like, an anime t-shirt on under it. Like, look at who you're asking.
I would never in a million years assume that you would like sports.
Thank you.
Well, but isn't that also similar to when you're with a taxi driver who's white and he's like, well, hey, you're racist racist like me, aren't you? Like,
I would also never in a million years assume that anybody's racist like me.
Lots of people do.
I think now I am free of that because one, Uber drivers are usually not an old white guy, so they're not going to throw racist things at you.
The old white guys just talk too much in general.
Yeah, I'm like, look, I'm not your grandkid. I don't wanna hear
Anybody who
this.
talks to me in a lift needs to shut up. Also, I'm not racist. I just want to clarify that.
Yes, yeah, no, but I don't. But now also too, my husband is not white, so I think that would also prevent them from having. When we're together, they're not going to give me a racist speech either. So that's helpful.
You're one of those people.
But all right, so that's our football spiel for this episode.
Football.
On the nerd versus jocks thing, Bob, this is that reminded me too of like this really lets you know Bill and Josh are gone because they would have never ever done a football episode.
No way in hell. Yeah.
That this episode is based around the memories of being a child on a sports team, which I would feel is anathema to the existence of Bill and Josh.
They were protecting their eggheads.
They're
It's-
calculators.
It's
Yeah.
a slightly dumber cousin of Lisa on Ice.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
I
Which
think
also
Lisa-
was Mike Scully. He wrote that
Yeah.
one too.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're right.
Because Mike Scully's a
Sports
fan. I think, Lisa on Ice is a much more punched up version of this particular episode.
It's more murky. I will
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, well, like literally punch. There's more punches in Lisa.
But
and
you
Ice.
also like the kids act more like kids, the adults act more like adults. There isn't that kind of everybody's extremely witty all the time kind of Harvard thing going on. So
Well, this also does feel more like one of those ones like Bart should be a teen for this. He shouldn't be a kid.
yeah,
I think.
Well,
but
Pop Warner football. I think for people of a certain age, Pop Warner football is just a thing, especially for a lot of men.
What does that mean, Pop Warner?
I have no idea.
I think it's an
That's
old
new to
player
me.
name.
Okay.
Like it was some classic football
It's the
player.
kid. It's the kid football.
Oh, okay.
right?
Yeah,
you
it's-
start in Pop Warner and then you go into middle school and
Is
high
Pee Wee
school.
different than Pop Warner, or is Pop Warner, or is Pee Wee stand for Pop Warner?
I think it's the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's like Little League. That makes sense. You got the big league. You got Little League. Like, but Pop Warner.
What about
that
Little
always-
Big League?
I like Little Big Chew.
Okay.
This episode though begins with a bunch of like kid health stuff, which this opening also it made me uncomfortable as a kid, as a heavy kid, watching Bart be told he's fat a bunch. Didn't love that. I mean, it's partially inspired by Arnold Schwarzenegger's health kick for children back in our youth.
Oh yeah, I've got a clip of that. So Arnold
yeah.
Schwarzenegger was the spokesperson for the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition in the early 90s. And so you see a lot of jokes with an Arnold type figure making little kids do sit-ups and push-ups and stuff like that.
I mean, the pump you up thing was also kind of built around this too. His persona of like, I'm going to make you get fit like me,
okay,
Mr. Olympia.
yeah.
Though this extended it to hegemony over kids too. But you want me to play the clip?
Yes, please.
As a parent, I appreciate the importance of education, but I also of teaching our children good fitness habits. With all that proven benefit of regular exercise, you can see why physical education is so important to their future. Our children need healthy hearts to grow into healthy adults. So let's be sure that they grow up smart and fit. And if you're still not convinced, I'll be back.
He'll murder us all.
Hasta la vista, baby.
I didn't think I had seen that until I heard fitness is feeling great. And I was like, oh, it activated something in me. And I started doing push-ups.
I do remember that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which now I see it as an adult. I'm like, that's a lame catchphrase.
That was a huge push. I remember, and it was directly right. It was directly in touch with George H.W. Bush. And actually, I think fitness was a positive thing to push on kids. Though, interestingly, I was reading an article just recently that gym class is considered bad now.
Really?
Because they did a huge study in Texas and determined that actually, if the more they push PE, the more they actually have disciplinary and absenteeism go up. Because you have the bullies bullying kids who are basically like, screw this and don't come in. And then the other thing is that it's not helping fitness very much.
Well, that's because they outlawed dodgeball, making kids too soft.
The curriculum wasn't very good. It would just be like, play kickball or whatever.
I mean, I didn't love gym as a kid, obviously. That I wanted to sit in the bleachers and listen to my mixtapes of Weezer songs.
When we did PE and we were playing baseball or something, I would stand as far out into the outfield as I possibly could so that I could stay away from the ball. I did not want it coming anywhere near my head.
I mean, gym class for a physically awkward kid, too, is just like, it's already hard enough to not be teased in other classes. But when you're supposed to, like, jump over something and you're just like, but I'm not good at this. Why
Your
are
whole
you?
body's on display.
Yeah.
I think I was okay with gym until high school gym. And that's when we started playing actual sports. And I was not signing up for that. It's like, I got to actually play basketball.
Yeah.
Middle school is when it became bad
It's
for
like,
me.
I can do beanbag toe tag. I can do like rolling around and all that crap. But I'm not playing actual basketball.
Well, in that same article, it said kids are most likely to be teased or bullied in middle school. And in our school, middle school was when they started having the kids be in the locker rooms and, be various states of undress and everybody's judging each other's bodies. And there's a lot more bullying. It just seems like a very toxic and horrible situation.
Bringing it back to the NFL, I mean, that's one reason it's funny that before the flag thing, the thing that was killing the NFL was that there was an openly gay player drafted. And that I always felt like these guys who were mad that there was going to be a gay guy in the locker room, it wasn't that they were like, he's going to look at my dick. It's more that they've just grown up in the most like homophobic thing in the world, which is a sports locker room. And so now they're just, it makes them uncomfortable that they've been playing grab ass for 18 years with other men, that now with a gay guy there, now it's gay.
Well, it's super macho culture, I think. And one of the worst things about sports is how incredibly homophobic it is. Except in U.S. women's soccer, when they won the Women's World Cup a couple years ago, Abby Wambach went and kissed her wife, and it was a wonderful, heartwarming moment. And I was like, oh, that's great.
Yeah, but I remember, too, when that happened right afterwards, the women's soccer team was talking about how they have worse grass that they play on. That they have all this worse
it's terrible.
stuff, like,
bad facilities. They were actually almost on strike because they were like, this is completely unacceptable. And of course, all of the knuckle draggers were out there like, well, nobody cares about women's sports, so therefore they shouldn't get any of the good stuff. And
the only sport that's not openly homophobic is ballroom dancing. It's part of the Olympics, people. Look it up.
what about, well, we'll actually get to some rhythmic gymnastics later, too. But, well, I've heard it's easier in documentaries I saw. It's easier to be gay in a solo sport than in a team sport for sure, too. Like,
oh, sure. Yeah, like figure skating?
Or swimming.
There are gay people figure skating.
Oh, my God.
Or golf or tennis, those things. But yes, let's get to our first clip here of Homer's Health Watch.
Well, your cholesterol level is lethally high, Homer, but I'm more concerned about your gravy level.
Now, wait a second. You doctors have been telling us to drink 8 glasses of gravy a day.
Well, you're a little confused.
Oh, confused, would we?
Confused would
It's no longer
we?
gravy season, though.
Oh, I miss it. I miss
So-
gravy already.
Homer's had a triple bypass, and meanwhile he has lethally high cholesterol, and apparently he's been drinking 8 glasses of gravy a day.
Enough gravy that it shows up in a blood test in his blood. I mean, when Hibbert says lethally high, it's just like, well, then you're dead. You're a dead man. Why are you even talking to him lightly here? Like, get him to a hospital right now. There's a couple of background jokes I missed until looking closely this time. Of
Me
like
too.
the lung thing that's being tested by Selma smoking right there.
Yeah, and there's one where they miscolor Mayor Quimby, so it looks like a random character, but it's Mayor Quimby being given a blood test by a busty nurse, and he's looking at her boobs, and she's like looking at her watch like there's something wrong with the blood test or the blood pressure test.
Yeah, which, I mean, that feels like a friggin' Looney Tunes joke from
Yeah.
his 40s.
It looks like a bunch of old Mad Magazine jokes that are just in the background.
Dr. Nick doing a gender test?
Yeah. Oh, boy, Dr. Nick.
I do like the Am I Crazy booth with, I think, Sideshow Mel and Kirk Van Houten.
Yes, that's a pretty funny one. And then we get a sound scene I will not be playing to save you
thank you.
listeners. Don't worry.
It's very funny, though.
It's hilarious.
I like how Jasper sheepishly raises his hand and Abe just looks over and shakes his head like, no.
Oh, I'm glad, because this would have been the 3rd episode in a row in which I'm here for an extremely uncomfortable sound.
What was the other one besides the arm twisting?
The arm twisting, and then there was also whatever it was with Lisa when she's in the military. There was some. Oh, right, when they do the testing.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
No, you're safe from it this time. But the hearing test joke is is pretty funny. Because
Jasper doing the little.
when Abe waves one of them off, that's when it makes it even better because they're like, oh, they're pranking this woman. That's how they get their jollies.
No, I think they're just all deafer than Jasper, and Jasper's less deaf, and he's just like he's not sure.
No.
So Abe is like, you're not
Okay.
hearing anything.
No, yeah, they're all deaf, and Jasper's like, I think I'll just be polite. And
Yeah.
Abe is like, no, you can't hear anything. He's like, nah, just put my hand in.
The Simpsons will be right back.
Hike into this break, guys, and we thank you so much for listening to me, Bob, and our special guest, Kat Bailey, talk all about Bart Star, football, and other sporting things. We had a really good time this week, and we thank Kat so much for coming on. We know she's really busy with her full-time job as the editor-in-chief of US Gamer. You check her out as _Catbot on Twitter for all the stuff that she does there on her website. And if you like me and Bob doing this full-time and want to hear next week's episode a week ahead of time and ad-free, meaning you won't hear this thing that I'm saying right now, you only need to go to patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons and sign up today. For $5 a month, you'll get access to this podcast a week ahead of time and ad-free. The same for our sister podcast, What a Cartoon, where me and Bob go through a different animated series each week. And you get access to all of our Patreon-exclusive podcasts, like our limited series for Talking Critic, where we do every episode of The Critic in the Talking Simpsons style, and Talking Futurama, where we did the same for the first season of Futurama. And soon we'll be doing the same for King of the Hill on King of the Hill. And that's only available to patrons at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons. And even better, if you go up to the premium $10 a month level, you'll also get access to our What a Cartoon movie podcast, where me and Bob go through a different animated film each week in the same style as all of our other podcasts. We've done Mask of the Phantasm, Kiki's Delivery Service, Akira, and a Goofy movie. You can hear all of those if you sign up at the $10 level at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons. If you're looking for protection, maybe the best thing you can do is buy a Talking Simpsons t-shirt. If you go to shirtsickle.com or the website tiny.cc/talkingshirt, you'll see the two Talking Simpsons t-shirts that we have on sale, both designed by wonderful friend of the show and official Simpsons artist, Nina Matsumoto. There's the Eye on Springfield-inspired Talking Simpsons logo in a beautiful sky blue. It's one of my favorite shirts. And our black death metal scary t-shirt that's all about our death jingle with a very reminiscent of Maggie, Grim Reaper, on the front. Both of those start in 1999, ship relatively internationally, and come in lots of different sizes, so you want to check it out for yourself at tiny.cc/talkingshirt or at shirtsickle.com. Check them out. We get some fun Marge mom jokes about the first aid. I'm not talking about a benefit concert, and no one reacts.
Classic
to
Live Aid humor or Farm Aid.
Yeah, I love when Marge gets to be a mom with like, is he or mommy with a mummy kind of gags.
I love when she's being aggressively lame, yeah.
But everyone does laugh at serious injuries.
Though that scene feels like it ends too short there. Like, just she sounds like you need some first aid. Yay!
There should be more of like a skit or a little playlet or something like that.
Also, Sanjay is very prominent in that scene.
Yeah.
It's kind of
I thought that was
confusing.
interesting, yeah.
I think they realized, I think after color, they maybe realized, like, oh, we drew Sanjay right there in the frame. We better record some Sanjay here in the rabble talk.
Well, this was the episode after Apu meets...
No, that's actually next.
Next episode.
Yeah, Two Minutes Not to Be Pedalons is next. Which he's still a single man at this point, or
Gotcha.
he's not a brother-in-law yet.
So I was going to be
Sanjay.
like, well, maybe that's why they have Sanjay being more prominent, is because that episode's coming up too.
As all that's going on, the kids of Springfield take their own test.
Come on, you
You can't do one sit-up?
I loved your last McBain movie, Mr. Wolfkatzel.
Quit stalling, fatty. We can wait. Come to Papa.
Come on, even my fat mama can touch her toes.
Hey, Bart, we wear the same underpants.
It's a lot of tummy on Milhouse there.
Yeah, he's not usually that big. Well, Bart's drawn with a bigger tummy in the next scene, too.
But I think like most of the men and boys in The Simpsons have like the light bulb bodies, the upside down light bulb body.
It's an interesting thing they can do anytime they want. That they like just core to Matt Groening's design of most males is having kind of a gut. And so they can emphasize it or de-emphasize it however much they want. Like Bart is a very active kid. When they wanted to have Bart be a very active kid on a skateboard, you're like, oh, that's just like baby fat or whatever. Then he's just still a growing kid. But if you want to say he's inactive and needs to take karate classes,
They can make it bulge.
yeah, you bulge it out a little bit. It was interesting to see Uter and Rainier interact.
Uter's
you're
still
right.
alive.
Yeah.
He's back again, but I would thought they'd go with some sort of German joke between them, but they did not. Like there will be a Nazi joke in like 5 seconds in this episode, but they didn't do it here.
Uter, who also appeared in Lisa on Ice.
Yeah, boy,
Yeah.
he's the something
Look
about
at
him
that
in
little fat kid
sports.
run.
He's got bosoms.
He's got bosoms.
Don't make me run. I'm
Full of chocolate.
You're just making me think. Now you're making me.
Now I
want
want
to
to go
do
watch
that one
Lisa on
again.
Ice. Let's cancel this episode. Go watch Lisa on Ice.
But yes, Kent Brockman is here to fat shame children.
Results from yesterday's health fair are in, and the news is not good. Springfield is in terrible shape, particularly our young boys.
Hey, Tubby, want another Pop-Tart, Tubby? I'm comfortable with who I am.
You're a disgrace to this family.
In this reporter's opinion, it's time for our lard-laden lads to shape up. Get out and try fun activities like military service, frenetic dancing, or good old-fashioned pee-wee football.
Here you go, Bart. Pee-wee football will melt away those unsightly pounds and inches.
Yeah, but I could get seriously hurt.
Then it's settled.
We don't have to play football, do we, Daddy?
You betcha. Team sports will keep you away from temptations like rock music and girls.
You know, Milhouse, you are getting a little doughy.
Aw, can't I just have the surgery?
I use that phrase, I'm comfortable with who I am a lot when I'm criticized.
But your mouth isn't full of Pop-Tarts when
It's
you
not.
say that.
No, I've given up Pop-Tarts.
Pop-Tarts are bad. They're not good for you.
I don't remember the last time I had a Pop-Tart.
I mean, sometimes in my darker overeating moments, I've had them. Just, I think, not at the last place me and Bob worked, but I think at another place I worked, they did have free Pop-Tarts there. So, and part of that is just like, well, I want to cash in my free shit. I'm not getting paid well here, so.
You don't get stock options to get Pop-Tarts.
Yeah. At our old place, though, my snack of choice was those peanut butter-filled pretzel bites.
Ooh, those are good.
Had a lot of those, yeah. That place sucked, but boy, they had quite a snack container.
Lots of string cheese.
They had string cheese and the wheels of cheese. Like you had it all. Eating Pop-Tarts out of the box is like the cocaine of overeating.
Yeah.
Like it's not the lowest yet. You're not just eating like marshmallow fluff out of a jar, but you're in a bad place.
Pop-Tarts are on the pizza roll tier.
Well,
I don't like that there are two in the little sleeve they give you. It's just like, you're setting me up to fail here.
Well, and I've seen, when you see people make unhealthy foods on the internet, I have seen using Pop-Tarts as a sandwich, which was a joke in the King Size Homer episode.
Oh, right,
too.
right.
Also, if you don't want to warm up Pop-Tarts, then they really are just like sugary cardboard. Like if you don't even put them in the toaster. At this point as a kid, I looked down on Pop-Tarts. I was a strudel boy.
Strudels were the upgrade, first class all the way. You get that nice little tube of slime you drip all over it.
After you have your like gooey,
Yeah.
boy. I'm hungry for some strudel, man.
If you want to solve the childhood obesity epidemic, don't send them to military camp. Stop subsidizing corn. High fructose corn syrup for soda.
That was some good corn.
Well, yeah, that
was some good corn.
When society wants to talk about how obese American kids are, which,
we are pretty
statistically,
fat.
We're a fat country, and I
Yes.
say this as as a heavy man. But
So is Australia and England.
But they don't. Well, I mean, and all of them are like king food and like processed food everywhere.
Super.
And there's just, you can't not buy fast food, and it's part of the society, but you can't, nobody wants to blame the fast food companies or the business side of it.
You're raised to eat that stuff in a lot of cases. And the lower income you are, the easier it is to end up with that because it's cheap, right? I mean, Mountain Dew.
Cheapest source of calories, yeah.
And then you have, rich people saying like, why can't you just go to Whole Foods and make your own like healthy dinner every night? Like, well, who has the time?
Well, they're getting shamed for using food stamps on this stuff, and it's like, well, I mean, it's cheap. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
How about I
need to feed the
possible.
maximum number of people possible, and I'm giving them crap, unfortunately, and they're ending up fat. It sucks.
Yeah. The Nazi joke was when he said military service, it's goose stepping.
It really was goose stepping, yeah.
Just to make it funnier when you see the interpretive dancing. You bring up Lisa on Ice, and it is very true that Homer in this is about as bad as he is in Lisa on Ice.
Yes,
He's
I agree.
slightly worse than Lisa on Ice, actually. But
Well, in that one, he's just bad sports dad. They're taking a look at the over-competitive parents. In this one, he's just an idiot.
He's too supportive, Dad.
Yeah.
Like, I was glad when I realized I was bad at sports. I believe my parents probably did too, and they were like, let's not do this anymore. Also, no parent wants to sit through your sports games.
Oh, no.
Dear Lord, how boring is that?
I hated as a kid when I had to go to my brother's soccer games. Like, can you just leave me at home? This is where the TV is.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's where the TV is.
A podcaster I listen to has 2 kids in organized sports, and he's driving like multiple hours a day to watch his daughter play in her soccer tournaments and giving up his entire weekend. And I'm like, no, that doesn't sound great, actually.
But if you go there but you're not watching, then you're a bad parent.
I commend all of our listeners who have kids and are doing this because it sounds like a nightmare for me as someone who needs to be distracted at all times.
But Homer is extra awful here too because he's the heaviest person in the family, but he's fat shaming Bart and eating all of his Pop-Tarts while he's telling him he's a disgrace. Like, there's multiple Homer. I mean, one of the meanest Homer moments ever is in this episode too. He's pretty bad to Bart just here, even before football season begins. Also, the Flanders kids are so happy to be kept away from rock music and girls. That's which I stayed away from girls and I didn't need football.
What's your secret?
So then they go to the Sporticus store, which I do. It's a clever name, sure.
Yeah. I feel like Mike Scully and his team loved making Marge say things she normally wouldn't say.
Yeah.
And it happens twice in this episode. And in the Halloween episode, too.
Yeah, I do kind of like them pushing that on her here. But I mean, this also, though, is a very schoolyard scene here.
It feels like it should be Bart tricking him into saying that, not the guy doing it of his own free will.
And the guy's not drawn to be Bronson voice man, even though he's Bronson voice.
He's going to need protection.
Sure, one helmet coming up. Blech.
I was thinking more like protection for down there.
Oh, why didn't you say so? Knee pads, you got it.
I'm talking about his personal area.
Say no more. I read you loud and clear. The old shoulder pads.
Look, I want a cup.
Cup, could you spell that?
C-U-P. I want to see you. Oh, my God.
That's a very just base level joke, but it works because of Marge's reaction to it.
Yeah, that she doesn't see it coming. Like, she's as innocent as a 9-year-old when you're caught in that joke. It takes me back to one of my least favorite moments in the Clerks animated series, because in that show, Kevin Smith was very insistent on getting an I cup joke in there, where they prank call somebody and they have to say, and they prank call the president and he says ICUP. It's like Kevin Smith was like, no, I have to get this on TV, and every other professional writer in the room was like, this is stupid. It's not funny.
Did he think he invented it or something?
No, but he just giggled that he'd get it on television, I believe that was his drive for it. And the joke was on him because it never aired on ABC, that episode. The guy's like smirky reaction to it it makes the joke good too. Like, oh yeah, I just don't know why they didn't draw him as Bronson voice. Do you think they did the scene before without Bronson voice and they revoiced it?
Maybe. Or maybe they just like that voice so much it doesn't matter who has it,
Yeah.
Like, I can work at a lot of places. It could also be a different person.
I look at that sports equipment store and I can almost smell the locker room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when I played, I believe, baseball for the first time, I was also amused at being able to punch myself in the crotch and be like, "Yeah, I'm impervious to danger."
Jockstraps had dual interest for me as a kid.
Ah, I see.
Oh, really?
Well, we're not going to talk about that. Anyway,
I find jockstraps disgusting.
but what they contain is cool.
I guess.
And you get to show your butt. Like, I mean, come on. You get to see a butt, and then you present the genitals in an interesting way. That's fun for
In
me.
a cup?
In a cup.
Present the genitals.
I want to make a gif though of Milhouse kicking Bart in an endless loop.
Oh man,
that's great.
It goes on for a long time without the loop.
Yeah,
the assisted loop.
It's and then their reaction to Marge telling them to stop is a great kid reaction too. I like that. I mean, Mike Scully, he brings. I'll probably say this every episode of his seasons, but he really does bring an understanding of parenting and children to it that really isn't a perspective that isn't really there from childless Simpsons writers before him.
And he has like what, 5 daughters?
He
was like an older father running the show. Like I believe Al Jean was like a newer father when he was doing his seasons.
And sports fan.
Yeah,
and a sports fan. And and also Donick Cary wrote this, and he's also like he could remember playing sports as a kid, which again, that's just not the most Harvard guys probably didn't play sports as a kid.
I think Mike Scully actually played football too.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
In West Springfield,
so he was a real jock
Massachusetts.
because he played hockey too.
and hockey. Yeah.
Oof, God.
Oh my God, football and hockey?
Where's your time for wrestling?
That's why fans hate him.
The kids get on the team, and we get to see good old Ned is the most wonderful coach you ever done seen.
Okay, Nelson's our quarterback.
Thanks, Four Eyes.
Ralph, you'll be on special teams.
I'm special.
And Bart, you'll be a tackle.
Cool. Careful, Bart. You'll break my calculator, by which I mean my head. What position have you got for me? That's right. A girl wants to play football. How about that?
Well, that's super duper, Lisa. In fact, we already have 4 girls on the team.
You do?
Uh-huh. But we'd love to have you on board.
Well, football's not really my thing. After all, what civilized person would play a game with the skin of an innocent pig?
Well, actually, Lisa, these balls are synthetic.
And for every ball we buy, $1 goes to Amnesty International. I've got to go.
It's a bit cruel to Lisa's character to
Pretty
make her
mean.
so insincere, but
Yeah.
it's also very funny in that it's a fake out where you think that's the direction the episode is going, where it's going to be like, oh, it's going to be about Lisa trying to get on the team, and that's going to be the plot of the episode, but it's immediately dismissed.
On the commentary, they joke that Lisa runs off crying because she's mad she's not the star of the episode because of that rejection of the plot.
Oh, I like that. I like that interpretation too.
It's a very funny scene. Also, that they include like, oh, they're so open-minded. They have 4 women on the
Very
team
progressive
already.
of them to put 4 girls on the football team. I remember I had a friend of mine who was a transgender male, actually, and really wanted to play football, and they would not let him. They just straight up would not let him. The only time I've seen an instance in which a girl was allowed to really play football, she was a kicker, and please do not look up what happened to her because the stories are really terrible.
All right, that's good. I mean,
Darkness.
We had hazing in your last episode, so
Yeah.
I know a few. I feel like I've read a few recent-ish stories about like female high school football players. Like one that took her girlfriend to the prom or whatever too, which sounded really cute. I think it's still, I mean, there's still anger about like girls doing amateur wrestling too in high school, even if they can like qualify for the team and everything.
Well, there's an extremely like negative attitude toward women athletes in general, and like
in America,
very
No.
condescending, unfortunately. Yeah.
This scene, though, I don't know how much you guys interact with alt-right memes on the internet.
Oh,
but this scene is actually a big one of the Pepes. Like I saw it a few. I hate even going into those spaces.
So Lisa is virtue signaling.
Yep.
Am I right?
And when she tries to be upset about something and then is told she's actually wrong and reality's different, then she runs away crying because she can't have her SJW way.
So Ned owned that lib.
That is exactly what this scene is used for. So
it was much more innocent in 1997.
I definitely don't feel like that. It's meant to. I mean, they like hurting Lisa in this show and making her like idealism be hurt
Just
by
a shrill,
reality.
annoying idealist vegetarian.
And
Yes,
it was very much the end of history period in which it's like, well, I don't care about things. We fixed everything. It's
we
fine.
We fixed gender.
Yeah.
We fixed race and gender.
And sports.
It's all good.
Well, and with the alt-right that used this scene, I think a major part they misunderstand is that the reason is that she leaves crying is because her dreams have come true and this diverse, open-minded football team exists, which that's not the case if you're talking about, say, the video games industry or comic books or rail football. This is a fictional situation where that doesn't exist. So it made me sad that I'd seen this scene memed a few times to be mad at women on the internet.
It's too bad. I've never seen this.
Well, you count yourself lucky then. Yeah, it's what brought me down when he finally got to this scene. I was like, I like Lisa's reaction. I take her tears just a little bit, not as jealousy, but as like, oh, I got everything I wanted.
Yeah.
Like,
they're teasing her.
It's
they're
a
saying
tease.
Lisa is an annoying shrew.
Yeah.
Who is always trying to find something to be mad about. And she
doesn't
wasn't able
even
to find something to be mad about, so she's upset.
And she doesn't even care about football, just like girls who want to make video games don't really care about video games. They don't even like video games.
Yeah.
Yes, which is all bullshit, just in case you're new to this show. I don't agree with that feeling.
We don't
at
really
all.
believe that. We're in the games industry. It's
Hi,
fine.
welcome to Talking Simpsons.
That speaking of controversial jokes, that I'm special. Like they knew what they were doing. They're having some fun with Ralph.
I think this was still a funny joke in 1997.
Yeah,
It was.
Yeah.
I mean, they're leaning into the whole, like, quote unquote, short bus era of Ralph jokes
Yes.
at this point in time.
We're firmly in short bus Ralph land. Well, I mean, though
Have been
that
for at least 2 seasons at this point.
Bill and Josh engaged in it for sure as well. Like and You Only Move Twice, that room of special kids was all supposed to sound and look like Ralph too.
They were very careful, though, about why all those kids were special.
Yes,
I mean, there's that scene where the PTA disbands and they're sitting with all the kids are coughing and Ralph is just sitting there staring straight ahead. And that was like, what, season 6?
That's season 6, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I bent my Wookiee and cat breath smells like cat
But
food.
I think at this point,
And there was that episode where he's like, I dress myself.
I think they're
mean,
now definitely coding him as intellectually disabled.
Yes, very
for
much
sure,
so.
yeah.
Meanwhile, I was definitely the Martin. Martin shouldn't even be on that team. He's like, watch out for my calculator, by which I mean my head.
So is Martin on the team to see people in jock straps, to see little boys in jock straps?
Oh.
Look, he's not they're all pre-sexual on this team. Well, except for Nelson, I think.
Could be
He
curious.
wants to see them present their genitals.
Well, Nelson definitely is the kid on the team who has just physically matured faster and is basically a man playing with children who can just smash all of them. That even though their ages, also I feel like Nelson is always supposed to be read as 2 years older than everybody in his grade.
I think so. And there's a Wildcats versus Wildcats joke. Is that a Rough Riders joke?
No, it's more of seemingly every high school team is named the friggin' Wildcats.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it seems like there's a Wildcat team in every league. There are multiple college Wildcat teams. It's just a very popular name.
I just knew that in Canadian football there were 2 Rough Rider teams, and they could potentially play against each other.
The Wildcats is the most generic name that you can possibly come up with.
It fits for any town. You don't have to have like an animal that wouldn't be in your town, or you don't have to like have a Confederate soldier, perhaps.
Yeah.
This is one of 2 lines that I remembered from the original airing of this episode. And it was one of the ones that I often quoted.
Do you have a Ned's pep talk?
I do.
Okay.
Who are we?
The Wildcats!
Who are we gonna beat?
The Wildcats!
Hey, Flanders, you're the worst coach this team has ever had.
He's the only coach this team has ever had, and the season hasn't even started yet.
Yeah, well, he's wearing that hat like an idiot.
You know, Homer, it's very easy to criticize.
Fun, too.
All right, Wildcats, are you ready to give 110%, take it one game at a time, and go the whole 9 yards?
Yeah! 9 yards!
Oakley dokley, let's put on our game faces.
I just realized that 9 yards is kind of funny.
Yeah, I didn't get that joke at the time, like until now, actually, that the kids are taking it literally. Like, yeah, we'll do 9 yards.
And
We'll run
only
9
9
yards.
yards.
Only 9 yards, not 10.
And I looked that up because I was like, what does that even mean, the whole 9 yards? Is that a football expression? Apparently, no one knows the origin or the meaning. At some point, it was the whole 6 yards. It's one of those expressions where it's like the whole enchilada, the whole Megillah. It's like trying to say we're going to do the entire thing. But no one really knows why it's 9 yards or why it was 6 yards. There's no definition.
Interesting.
There's no
Wow.
origin. I looked this up. There's a lot of history about this
Well,
saying
back
online.
in 1952, the football was only 9 yards instead of 10.
The Kaiser stole a yard from the football game.
I mean, I only associate it with Matthew Perry films, but
Right.
maybe it never even had anything to do with football at the start. Maybe it was
I don't think
about
it
like
did.
yards of cloth or something. Like, I want to buy all the suits. Give me the whole 9 yards.
It could have been something like that, yeah, but it's one of those many expressions of the same type.
But if you watch a lot of sports, you hear cliches like, 110%, to the point where I think it's a bit of a dead horse. But
Your job as a color commentator is to say all of the cliches. Like,
well, no, the athletes say that. It's like,
oh, right.
It's
Yeah.
like, how did you feel about this game? Well, we gave 110%. What? Full 9 yards. I can't breathe. I'm really tired. I got to go to the locker room.
There's a great joke about that on King of the Hill's first episode, and you can listen to all of Talking of the Hill
Yeah.
soon on Talking Simpsons Patreon, patreon.com/Talking Simpsons.
Another great spin on that joke was the film Bedazzled, the 90s
Yes.
remake, is very underrated.
I was going to say that was what I was thinking about every time I hear 110%.
In his dream, in his wish to be a successful athlete, he's just a very stupid giant basketball player who says like, no, gave 110%. Everybody did a great job. 110% did it. But then the joke is that his cursed wish is that he has a micro penis. So
There's actually an episode of Duckman where Duckman runs a baseball team, and someone is asking him, actually somebody is interviewing him after the game. He's like, we're here to win. We're going to give 110%, go the whole 9 yards. He does every sports cliche, and then they zoom out, and he's reading a book of sports cliches during the interview, like 101 sports cliches. So everyone has made jokes about 110%, but they're still funny.
And in the crowd, Bumblebee Man is there for some reason.
He likes Pee Wee football.
Perhaps he has a child with his new wife.
But he's in full costume as always, too.
Yeah,
But,
well, why wouldn't he be?
Football is extremely popular in Mexico.
And I definitely agree. Wait, American style football?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, the Raiders are one of the most popular teams in Mexico City.
I did not know this.
The only football I will engage in is the anime Ice Shield
There you go.
21.
They
Sports anime is great.
They keep teasing that the Jaguars are going to move to London because,
They're not.
British rich guy bought them, though.
Yeah, you can't make the logistics of moving a team to London work.
Making
the time
them
zones
fly all the time.
The time zones just would not work.
Oh, for broadcasting. Yeah.
Are they going to
Well-
dump hot tea on the coach when they win?
It's hard enough flying a team from the East Coast to the West Coast and dealing with jet lag there. Just like flying them from the London to the West Coast, yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
Did you know the Jaguar family just started a pro wrestling league?
No idea.
Yeah, they did. They want to have a challenger to the WWF, so the Khan family is pouring all the money into it. They have billions, so 100 million to your wrestling league. Who cares? Let's go for it.
Why not?
And they did their announcement. It made me so sad as a super wrestling fan who hated living in Jacksonville, Florida. Where did they announce their league and have the big event? Right in Jacksonville, Florida at the fucking stadium.
That's not surprising.
Time to
He
visit
does
home,
own
Henry.
that stadium.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. You said it before, Bob, but we all agree that it's fun and easy to criticize. Like it's, which is our entire careers.
Yeah, we're making a good buck off of that.
So Homer should say, yeah, also, not only is it fun, but also
Monetizable.
And then we get a quick, very underrated Ooter joke of him running barefoot but kicking with the shoed foot. That was a thing in the 70s, barefoot kickers, but that's not really a thing these days, Kat.
Barefoot kickers.
I looked this up. There was a trend of barefoot kickers. They weren't that common, but some people thought that the shoes you would wear would impact the length of the kick you could do.
Oh, interesting.
And I guess in the late 90s, special kicking shoes were developed for kickers. They're very expensive, but they're available. So they do not affect the velocity or the impact or something involved with kicking. But for a time, randomly, there'd just be a few barefoot kickers in the NFL.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That sounds extremely painful.
It sounds awful. Also, weather was a big problem for those guys.
I can just imagine my foot falling off while trying
Just
to kick in
shattering.
cold weather. Yeah.
Kickers get some hate in the NFL world.
Well, they're not
don't
real
they?
athletes. No.
Yeah.
Well-
Actually, I had a kicker on my previous RPG podcast, Role Players Realm, because the Minnesota Vikings had a kicker named Chris
I know this
Cluey,
guy. Yeah.
famous nerd, wrote an expose actually for Deadspin calling out their special teams coach as a homophobe, which is interesting. But yeah, he came on my podcast and we talked about World of Warcraft.
The only Vikings player I know is the one that was on Mystery Science Theater 3000.
I don't remember
Whoever that
his
was.
name, yeah.
But the thing I remember most was him saying, I could play video games. My dad would have me do 100 drop kicks, and then I could go play NES.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's one way to do it.
So that's how, and apparently he was being trained to be a kicker from an early days. So
wow. To be that specialized, you would always figure like a dad would want him to be a quarterback, and then you just pull back those dreams.
No, apparently it was like, I'm going to be a kicker. It's my dream.
The kids play their games. Nelson, you see, is the ultimate player. He's an amazing quarterback who basically can just pass to himself, as we'll see later. But
he's
and his own blocker too. Just he can do anything.
He is what a future pro athlete is essentially on a Pee Wee football team, where they're so overwhelmingly good and so big and so strong that the kids are just hanging off them, and they're scoring multiple touchdowns by themselves. Yeah,
I like him using Bart as a human shield and going out of his way to knock out one last player that's not even in his way.
Yeah, that's and that he spikes Bart too, along with the ball.
I've never played football for obvious reasons, but I've read stories about being on the field, I guess, and the stories always talk about how you look up and you see a kid like Nelson running towards you, and it's like getting hit by a freight train.
Yeah, and they love that Ralph, I'm special line so much they use it twice.
They just and somehow he has a broken leg too.
There's got to be a cutscene or something.
I feel like there must be.
Maybe they broke his leg and went, maybe that's too violent.
Nelson does what racist NFL fans call hip hop style dancing.
They had such celebrations were banned for a time, but now they're back.
You can do them again?
You can do urban celebrations in the end zone?
They did Duck, Duck, Gray Duck famously for the Vikings. It was great.
That was one of the reasons they called the NFL the No Fun League, right?
Yeah.
You also get to do those dances in Madden as well?
Yes. Just recently, a player paid homage to a famous celebration, because one of the most famous celebrations was a player ran to the goalpost, dug out a cell phone, pretended to call somebody.
Wow.
And a player just this last year for the same team ran and found an old style flip phone, same phone and everything, and did the celebration.
I want players doing one-act plays in the end zone. Has anyone done Fortnite dances yet in the end zone?
Yes.
The floss dance and everything?
Oh, yeah, they've totally done
sure.
Fortnite.
Okay, yeah.
Fortnite dances are everywhere in sports now.
But now it's Henry's time to shine.
Oh, man.
Well, just briefly, because Bart says it's clobbering time, which that is, of course, a reference to
Swamp Thing. Oh, different thing.
No, the Marvel Comics character, The Thing. That's his catchphrase, which also was the catchphrase of CM Punk, the pro wrestler who
With
now
permission, I bet.
well, actually, no. Yeah, he's...
Oh, so they ripped off the Hulk and it's clobbering time.
Yeah, they pay for the Hulk, but they don't pay... Hulk Hogan pays for the Hulk.
You don't own clobbering, sir.
Well, that was it hit me that was the case as when I would go to video game events for the WWE games, and I would go to CM Punk first because was one of my favorites, and he'd do his entrance motion, and when you should hear him scream, "It's clobbering time," it is silent. Because they don't want to be sued by Marvel, and they also don't want to pay Marvel for it. So you got to say it for him in your living room if you want to. But apparently Simpsons can get away with it. They're not afraid like 2K
parody.
was.
It's parody.
And yes, they win the big game pretty easily there. Though there is a little bit of a animation error there too. I don't know if you guys caught it. When they go into the huddle, you see it's 27. Then Nelson gets the winning play with Bart, though they didn't need it to win. But then the guy even calls it a touchdown. So that should have added 6 points to it. But when the buzzer goes, not buzzer, whatever. When the game's over, it's still 20.
The football siren.
It's still 20-7 instead of 26-7.
Oh, okay, wow.
So they really fucked up.
Was
so
Carl doing the
blunder.
scoreboards?
He does the scoreboard last in the episode.
Weird,
I don't
weird
think
choice.
in all of them. Yeah, it's very random.
I like Bart being a lead blocker, but with Nelson just being like boom, 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 boom.
Well, when you're a child who has to be a blocker, it is just like, yeah.
I love the idea of Bart being an offensive tackle because he's tiny. They're putting him on the offensive line. He's like this little kid.
Maybe Ned is a bad coach.
You would think Nelson would be a running back or on the offensive line, but I guess it's just that he's so big that he can do literally everything.
He's every player.
He's literally untackleable. He should be playing defense as well.
He can throw a ball hard enough to injure Ned. Like, yeah, he should just...
It's hard to imagine where... I would imagine Bart being a receiver, actually.
Yeah.
But he's not tall enough. Like, frankly, he shouldn't be playing football, is what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, neither should Milhouse with his glasses on. Like, but yes, the game is won, and then we get to see Homer's not too happy about it.
Big deal. I've been carried out of Moe's like that hundreds of times. Yeah, I'm telling you, Flanders can't coach at all. Now, I'm not the type to have a grudge for no reason.
Sir, if I could just break in for a moment.
Yes, Roy.
Do you have a question for Sandy Koufax?
Yes, Mr. Koufax, don't you think Flanders is a big jerk? Yellow? Yellow? Yeah, Homer again. I think we got cut off. Yellow?
I haven't seen this one in a while, and I only realized just now that Roy Firestone is a real human being. He's real.
So I didn't know much about Roy Firestone because
I'm surprised.
He was popular before I became a sports fan on ESPN. He quit ESPN, I think, in the mid to late 90s.
Okay.
He had a couple of embarrassing moments. He did an OJ interview where he was like, they're painting you as a domestic abuser.
Oh, no.
Oh, I think I remember seeing that in the mega OJ documentary.
The OJ Made in America.
Yeah.
And then there was also a bit where he interviewed Bobby Knight, the Indiana basketball coach, after he choked a player, and he was obviously extremely nervous, and he dropped his stuff. And later they did an interview with him. He's like, look, I don't want to ask aggressive questions. I want to be like Oprah. I don't want to ambush people. I'm like, oh, okay, so you're a fluff reporter. He's like, I don't really see myself as a journalist. I see myself as a communicator.
Oh, good.
But a lot of Google was like, whatever happened to Roy Firestone? Because he kind of fell off the face of the earth after ESPN.
According to Wikipedia, he currently has a show on AOL, which I don't know how that's a show.
That's very appropriate given, he was a thing in the 90s, yeah.
I guess AOL exists.
Well, Roy Firestone, his resume of guest appearances is also very 90s. Mid to late 90s, though. Married with Children, Jerry Maguire, Everybody Loves Raymond, and, of course, this.
I thought there'd be a Home Improvement in there somewhere.
Apparently not.
Weird.
Apparently not.
We're saying Marv Albert was the original guest star or something?
That
proposed guest star?
Yes. Roy Firestone was definitely a replacement, and apparently they did drop Marv Albert because at the time he was going through his troubles, which involves something with a sex scandal and I think sex workers and biting them and wearing women's underwear. It's like, hey, look, man, whatever Marv Albert does to get off in his private room, as long as it's consensual, I don't care.
Biting is fine.
Yeah. But
that's our official stance.
But obviously maybe basketball fans don't want to hear that or think about Marv Albert doing those things.
Or think of Marv Albert in women's underwear.
Yes, yeah. I'm not liking that visual right now. Yeah, no, not into that. Hey, if it's your thing, it's your bag, baby, then full steam ahead. But yeah, they do one. They couldn't on the commentary. They couldn't resist one little joke about it, where they said they had biting commentary for him.
And Sandy Koufax did not do his own voice or any voice in this episode, but he's still alive at 83.
I found that incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Sandy Koufax, obviously one of the greatest pitchers ever, started.
Well, obviously.
The facts that I know him best for is that he refused to start Game 1 of the 1965 World Series because it was Yom Kippur. He was Jewish.
Sweet.
Yes. Yeah.
And the 1965 World Series was against my team, the Minnesota Twins, and the Dodgers beat him anyway. And Koufax beat them in Game 7. So.
Oh man, Homer's not even calling in during during his football segment.
So sports talk radio. I have been known a time or two to call into sports talk radio.
Oh my!
But this was mostly in the late 90s when I still listened to sports talk radio. I do not listen to sports talk radio anymore. I listen to a major innovation. It's called podcasts.
Ooh, tell me more.
Yeah, I listen to my favorite sporto personalities talking about sports on podcasts now. Talk radio now is kind of the knuckle-dragging, version of like, let's give every single hot take I possibly can about the sports. And then the dumbest people, like Homer, actually call in and be like, well, I just think that we should fire this extremely successful coach. I mean, we lost this one game. They shouldn't be on the team anymore. I'm extremely mad. The plot twist in this game did not work for me.
When I think of sports talk radio, I think back to, I never sought it out, didn't want to listen to it. But there was a comic book shop I would frequent that they would be playing sports talk radio, specifically this one baseball one. And I just remember being in there, and Jay Moore, I believe, was the guest host of it at that time. And they were talking about how they were annoyed that a Japanese player was given like Rookie of the Year because he, just came from years in Japan, but was a rookie to the MLB. And you can imagine what kind of voices they put on for this Japanese player.
What would Japanese people know about baseball?
Yeah.
But so, yeah, that definitely turned me off to it. The closest thing I have to sports talk that I have actually stopped listening to is this pro wrestling podcast that does have call-ins for it and is started as a radio show and is now you download the radio show.
Actually, one of my good friends from Minnesota is a sports talk radio person.
Whoa.
Yeah, a fairly well-known one as well. He's also friends with various Game Informer people because he's a gamer.
Oh, wow.
And so he discovered my work and discovered that I was a Minnesota sports fan, so followed me and started retweeting a lot of my stuff. So,
oh, that's cool. Well,
yeah. So, and he was like, yeah, if you're ever in Minnesota, come on the show. And I was like, I think I will, but I haven't been on the show, sadly.
Well, the interesting thing with the sports calling guys on that wrestling podcast I would sometimes listen to is that, like, the callers, half of them have an antagonistic relationship with the guy where there's like, you again, come on. Oh, let me guess, you didn't like this person. Yeah, that's right, Brian. I didn't like that guy. I don't know why Vince McMahon still does these stories.
God.
And it's just, you get to know them because you can't like ban them, I guess.
Well, if you're calling in because you want to vent.
Yes.
They're calling from their cars, waiting for their family court appointment.
Well, you guys have seen the Patton Oswalt film, Big Fan?
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Pretty good about these types of guys.
I didn't like it, but let's not get started on
that. Okay. So then they go to play the football game, and we get to see one of the meanest things Homer's ever done in the show, I think.
What?
Flanders!
What is it?
Game's out there! Made you look.
They're just words, Nettie. Words can't hurt you. Ow! That's it!
Dad, that was really mean.
I know, sweetie. And I got him right in the... Hi, Flanders. Go Wildcat.
Do you have a problem with the way I'm coaching?
No. It's just that, well, like I was yelling earlier, it seems like anyone with half a brain could coach better than you.
Uh-huh. Half a brain, huh? Well, you know what? It sounds like you just volunteered.
Me? But you were doing such a great job.
It feels like a mini sequel to Hurricane Nettie, where Ned is letting people know when he's mad. It's like, if you tick me off, I'm going to let you know.
I'm going to run you down with my car.
He never goes that far, but also
Homer should be watching us back.
I think so. That Flanders chant, is that like the Daryl chant from Homer at the Bat?
It is.
Callback or something?
As a kid, I definitely thought that in
Yeah.
that moment. So Scully was very much into Homer being too mean to Flanders. As in our Mike Scully interview, you can hear him talk about how he was a believer that, to paraphrase him, that Homer felt like Ned is the man he could never be, and so that kind of makes him extra jealous of him. And so I think that's definitely what's being played up here. He hates Ned because he wants to do Ned's job, or he knows he could do it better. And so, throwing a full beer can at him that hits him in the neck. And when Lisa says that was really mean, I know, and I hit him right in the he doesn't care that it was really mean.
He likes that it was really mean.
Reminds me of Homer and the Hat episode where he wants to be the town crier during the Jebediah Springfield thing. Where he's like, oh no, Ned has the hat and it belongs to him, and also he's town. No, Homer's like, absolutely not. I'm going to be the town crier, and I'm better at it than him.
That was older Ned when he was happy to be just abused. Or he didn't mind as much.
Scully's Ned has a shorter fuse for sure. Like he yells at Homer more often.
Need more of that University of Minnesota spankological protocol.
Well, and also the anger of Ned too is like that came out in Treehouse of Horror 8 we just did, where though his anger is about that that his wife would not commit acts of carnality.
That'll be the day.
And it's a very late Act 1 break in this one. It's actually pacing in this is interesting to me because I feel like there's two possible act breaks in Act 1 and two possible act breaks in Act 2. When Bart joins the team, that could be the end of the act.
Yeah, it's like 10 minutes long, the first act.
And when Bart is told by the rest of the team he's going to kill him, that could also be the end of the act instead of waiting for him to quit the team. It's interesting pacing wise in this.
Pretty much everything, the entire arc happens in Act 3.
It really does. And I don't like ADR jokes normally unless they're convincing enough to work, but I really hate when an act break goes out on an ADR joke, and this is definitely one of those. So ADR, of course, is when they just rework the mouth movements or record a different line that doesn't quite fit the mouth movement. So there was another line there that was meant to be the act break line, but we don't know what it was. But I don't like how it goes out. It just looks awkward too.
That one and You're Going to Heaven are both kind of like,
they're kind of just like,
though I do like Homer's statement of like, well, it's like I was yelling earlier. When we come back from the act break, we get another Scully standard, which is Lisa being injured.
You're not going to make the team with that kind of attitude.
I don't want to make the team.
Then why are you running the obstacle course?
Are you wearing my self-defense whistle?
You never use it.
Good morning, everybody.
Wipe that smile off your face.
What did I do?
I'm tired of watching you dog it on that football field. From now on, I'm going to work you like a dog. Now go fetch me 20 laps.
Oh, man.
Do it.
You shouldn't pressure Bart like that.
Well, if you know a better way for me to live through my son, I'd like to hear it. I knew it. Slowing down already, huh?
How can you treat him that way? Don't you remember how bad your father made you feel when you played sports?
So yeah, that line about the self-defense whistle, I just kind of got it this time. Where I mean, it's funny enough that Homer used it and took it from Marge, but it's the line where he says, "Well, you never use it." He should be happy his wife has never had to blow the self-defense whistle.
Yes, yeah, and then
it's a very callous line that I think is funny.
And I'm really glad they used the word self-defense instead of another word they could have used for that.
Oh my God.
Which that one I might chalk up to Matt Groening saying we're not saying that word for a joke on this show,
or the censors.
Yeah, it could be the censors.
Didn't they use that word on Arrested Development?
Oh yeah, they said they
Lucille
said quote
Bluth.
rape whistle.
Yeah.
And then to make the joke even darker, Buster says like anybody's want to R her.
That's right.
Oh my God.
Ooh, yeah. Hey, they go there, man. Jokes don't care about your feelings in this show. No, just it's funny that they were making those jokes at the same time that Jeffrey Tambor was screaming at people and hurting them on set. But anyway,
football.
Poor Lisa though, that falling down. I mean, that's meant to kill people. Those tires on the stairs.
And Homer's wearing Tom Landry's hat from You Only Move Twice, right?
You're right. He pulled it out of storage. That's pretty good. And it's him just like dogging you out on the field. Now go fetch me 20 laps. That's a fun.
I'm gonna work you like a dog.
If Tom Landry's hat doesn't motivate you, I don't know what will.
And we go to a little flashback here where they're basically in their Way We Was designs too.
But they're more like in the late 70s than 1974.
Well, because Homer is dancing to a song released in 1979, not 1974.
So yes, the song, which I just realized is a real song, is called Music Box Dancer by Frank Mills. It's an instrumental song that was an international hit in the late 70s, and we have a clip of the song, and you know what? It ain't bad. It's very pleasant. It's very soothing.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep, that's it. Real song, real song.
Frank Mills looks like a very nice man in that video.
He does. What a nice man. This
Looks
is
like he'd
beginning.
sell you a car or something.
I think so. Well, this is beginning the era that I don't like of TV writing, where all the characters now have grown up together. Like they all grew up in this. They went to the same high school. Mo grew up with them. Smithers grew up with them. Lenny grew up with them. I think it's kind of lazy. I get what they're doing, but yeah.
Well, I mean, you just modify the character models a little bit, but was Lenny going out with Marge?
It looked like he was trying to.
It looked like he had his arm around her or something.
Well, he was just relaxing, and
Yeah,
maybe he was trying to get into her personal space.
In his bull shirt.
Yeah.
But I believe Venture Brothers called this Super Crazy No Way School.
Yep, yeah.
This device.
Which it was based on Marvel Comics. Dr. Doom and Reed Richards and Ben Grimm all went to the same college and fought over a dorm room. Like, that's how they expanded from there. And,
also, that was their origin story. That's why they hate each other so much.
Reed Richards was proving to be smarter than him at Empire State University, so Victor Von Doom cursed Richards to that very day.
I know exactly 2 people from my high school.
I know 0.
And none of them are important in your life now. Or
one of them is mildly important, I guess.
But they're not your employees or bosses or coworkers. Or
Yes.
This animation of Homer's routine is so cool and good, though. They spent a lot of time and effort on this. I like how it looks.
Yeah, and it's also a stock comedy thing to give one of your more masculine characters a girly or a more feminine sporting background.
And young Homer is not in good shape in this clip.
It reminds me of when young Homer is being a choir singer. And
Oh yeah,
it's like
Until
hot diggity.
His, balls dropped.
Yeah.
And but in this case, Abe is just an asshole. Like I do like this. We're a bad dad podcast. We're anti-dad, so I like this anti-dad sentiment in this episode too. Well, that Homer had a horrible father, and that led him to be a bad dad to his son. And then when he tries to change it, it's his half-assed over parenting.
That's right.
Basically,
That's what I was thinking of.
Abe is just unapologetically like, no, you disappoint me, and I don't like you. Like that's who he is to Homer in this episode.
You were an accident.
You're never supposed to tell the child.
My father never believed in me. Well, I'm not going to make the same mistake. From now on, I'm going to be kinder to my son and meaner to my dad. Quit running, son. I just want to give you a big hug.
It's gotta be a trick. Run like the wind.
I believe in you. Hug me! No! Will you hug me? Hug me!
I like him throwing down all the debris in his way.
It's like that gag in Austin Powers where Dr. Evil's like, hug me. Hug.
The circle they're running in is very well animated too. Dominic Palcino and his team did a really good job there. But just how Bart knocks over a new thing that Homer has to jump over. I mean, if my dad started all of a sudden going like, you should hug me, I'm like, no.
What the hell's going on?
What is this?
The trick.
And I do like, as an anti-dad podcaster, I do like his Homer's resolution, like, and I'll be meaner to my dad.
Good resolution.
This was definitely seemingly the writer's favorite joke of the episode, but Homer cutting kids his heartless cutting is very mean, but I do like it is funny.
Okay, it's time for the easiest part of any coach's job, the cuts. Now, while I wasn't able to cut everyone I wanted to, I have cut a lot of you. Wendell is cut. Rudy is cut. Janie, you're gone. Steven, I like your hustle. That's why it was so hard to cut you. Congratulations. The rest of you made the team. Except you, and you.
Bart didn't get cut. What a surprise.
Now, just because I'm his father, he'll get no special treatment. He calls me coach just like everyone else, which he'll be doing as our new starting quarterback.
What a rip.
But, Coach,
What is it, sweetie?
Nelson's a great quarterback. He's carrying this team.
Yeah, that's right.
Not anymore. From now on, you're my main man. Okay, now, everyone. Give me 5 laps and hit the shower. Oh, Rod, you don't have to. You're cut.
So if Homer were smarter, he would just make Nelson the running back and then have Bart hand off to him every play.
Yeah, just always do a handoff and clobber right through him.
He doesn't even put him on the field. He just puts
benches
Nelson
him.
on the bench.
I think Bart knowing he's bad at the sport is very observational because that's how I was. I'm like, put me where none of the action happens.
Yeah,
That's where I want to be.
I don't want a chance to be a star. I don't want opportunity. Just let me be over here.
So you want me to run the team? Absolutely not.
And yeah, Homer is also they found an interesting place to take Homer because they said on the commentary, they're like, well, what are we going to do? Just another Homer's a mean dad for sports thing. But instead he has to be good. By trying to be good, he's actually worse. Plus you get to do jokes about the very real thing of parent coaches who favor their kid over all else.
Yeah, that's what makes it a little different from Lisa and Ice.
It's a nice twist where him being supportive is bad. And he promises to not do it in the end.
One, parents coaching the team and playing favorites with their kid. Like, who wouldn't do that? It's your kid. Like, I don't care about any children, but if I had a son, I'd be like, well, I definitely only care about you. I don't give a shit if these other kids play. And I mean, I think my little brother had that on his soccer team where it was just accepted, like, yeah, no, the coach's son, he does all the stuff.
Thanks, Dad. So here's my grand unifying theory of The Simpsons.
Go for it.
My grand unifying theory of The Simpsons is that it's the same year every time. That's why they graduate from the same grade multiple times. That's why you see weird things like Bart's a hockey star in one episode, and he's a not very good at football player in another episode. It's because it's the same year, but in different universes. There are multiple. It's the Simpsons multiverse.
I like that theory.
Or it's always 1989.
It's always or 1992, and the years can vary, but they're always playing out the same year.
But that turns away from my beloved continuity. The continuity.
Well, some episodes have continuity.
I want a Homerverse movie now.
Some universes are set in the same universe, and some of them definitely are not. And this one is very much a different universe from the one where Bart is extremely athletic and is very good at hockey.
I mean, being good at hockey doesn't necessarily translate to football, though, I would guess.
I don't know. I think this episode is showing him being like completely like he's not coordinated at all. He's very bad at sports in general. He's fat.
Well, on the hockey team, he's actually very accurate with his shots, and as we'll see later, like he can't throw that football.
And he's fast. He is a good skater.
Yeah, that's true.
And Letterkenny, you should go watch Letterkenny. It's a great show on Hulu. They make a lot of jokes about hockey players doing leg day, because if you're going to be playing hockey, you better be in shape with your legs. And so you would think Bart would be able to run around at least, but.
Boy, I never thought about that with hockey players having to have good legs.
I like leg day like I love my wife a lot.
But Homer cutting the kids, I love just how heartlessly he does it. And I just like, I didn't cut everyone I want, but I did cut a lot of you.
Martin is sad to be cut from a football team.
And this is like angry, sarcastic Martin, which is something you never hear. What a surprise!
That would have been me on the team. I would have been that. Sorry, I got to get a passive aggressive dig in before I leave.
I would have been Milhouse happy to be cut.
All right.
Yeah.
In there are some numbers jokes there that Milhouse is 0 and that Rod is 66 and Todd is 6, making them 666 together.
That's good.
I got to get a thumbs up to the Simpsons World app is horrible, and I would never suggest really using it that much, especially if you have DVDs. But that one I didn't know until I read it in their trivia things on the side.
Those are fun facts.
They almost make that full minute of forced video before watching anything worth it. And you know what they do? You can't even switch tabs because they're like, oh, you close this tab? We're stopping this
We
video.
gotcha.
How dare they? I love how B says, oh, they all call me coach. And then Bart calls him coach. And he responds by calling him sweetie. And then there's an odd joke where they're driving home and Lisa's reading a book called Sports Injuries.
Well, she wants Bart to be injured horribly.
I guess
she's excited about it.
It's just weird.
Well, it reminds me of the videos from the 80s and 90s. It's the greatest sports bloopers where invariably it was somebody getting horribly injured, but it would add doink sound effects. Doink!
There's an episode where Homer watches one of those, like early on.
Yes,
2 or 3.
exactly.
Yeah, you made me miss Joe Theismann. As a kid.
Right. Oh my God.
Right. But it pays off well when Lisa takes the wheel. She's like, I got it.
That should be, instead of people saying Jesus take the wheel, they should say Lisa take the wheel.
She's literally just in the backseat from now on in this episode. It's like, well, I had my moment with the gag where I'm trying to join the football team. Now I'm just in the backseat. sweet. I'll take the wheel periodically if you need me to.
I also love the line of like, since when? Since your mother yelled at me. Anyway, how about that hug? And he just loses all sense. He's like, well, I got to get this hug. I don't know where I am right now, but I have to hug you. They go to the next game, and when Ned is like, no hard feelings, then Homer's like, yeah, you're not so talkative now. It's very funny, but I really don't like jokes about Homer being abusive in the way like that is identifiable to me.
Too realistic.
Well, yeah, it's just like I had many an argument with my dad where he just pretended things that happened before did not happen, or say that you said something he said, and you just had to accept it. And that's the kind of
gaslighting
space. Yeah, that is the gaslighting space that these funny Homer jokes are coming from.
But Ned being cheerful and not fighting back against Homer's weird response is classic Ned. Like
that is,
he's just everything bounces off of him.
He's let it go. His neck is healed from getting hit with a full beer can.
Well, we're like firmly into jerk-ass Homer territory now.
It has resumed, yeah.
I resist that narrative.
The difference between Homer when he's being sweet is there's a fundamental insecurity about him, and he kind of wants to do the right thing, but he doesn't know how. But when he's in jerk-ass Homer territory, he just does not care about anybody. He can get extremely mean. And yeah, it's very much playing up these different traits. And that's one of them is his rivalry with Flanders, where he's just being full on, well, mean.
I would say he was a jerk ass in Lisa on Ice, though.
Oh, he was a huge jerk ass. And that was also a Scully episode.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, you said it on a previous one, Bob, but I think Bill and Josh wanted to resist the clear momentum of Homer being meaner each season and making him a more likable guy who actually, say, treats his wife to a spa day. All those things like that. But
so why is Marge with this ogre?
Yeah, so once Bill and Josh are gone, I think they listen more to the evil Homers on their shoulders and do more jokes about, like, it'd be funny if Homer was extra mean here. It'd be funny if Homer gaslit somebody or didn't listen to Marge or called her a liar. Like that's funnier.
Well, he wants to do the quote unquote good thing here with Bart, but it's from a fundamental place of selfishness, which is why he's really bad at it. He's doing it for him. He's not doing it for Bart.
And we get to see Bart's tough game as the quarterback. There's even some first-person view of what it's like to be on the field, with like trying to find somebody to throw the ball to.
That looks terrifying.
It captures what it must be like on that field. Wasn't there, Kat, this is a Madden question, wasn't there at least one year there was a first-person mode in Madden?
And that was actually NFL 2K.
Oh, okay.
One of the most famous games, NFL 2K5, considered one of the best football sims ever, had a first-person mode. And it was not good.
Okay.
It was very bad. Yeah.
It's worth a try.
It was a fun novelty.
Yes, Bart is having some trouble on the field.
No, please, Bart, don't! Help. Whoa. Get up! Whoa.
Look at him go!
Excellent boy, son. You panicked, but you didn't lose your cool.
No.
Does Homer even watch football? Because that was obviously a safety.
All right. What's the difference between a safety and a touchback?
Touchback is if the ball rolls out of the end zone, whereas a safety would be I'm holding on to the ball, but you've sacked me into the end zone. That's a safety, and it's 2 points, and I lose the ball.
Okay.
They should call it ball rolly and ball holdy. It's better.
Though, partially the blame goes on Milhouse for not accepting that lateral or handoff or whatever. That should have been.
I thought Milhouse got cut.
No, he's getting cut.
Later.
Later he got cut. Okay.
Poor Bart also even ends up getting Nelson beat up for once by passing to Nelson on the bench.
I mean, they were all wide open. Just throw the freaking ball, man.
And he's tensed up there. He knows he's about to get creamed again. He's probably at least concussed once this far into the game.
Well, you were asking me, Bob, why do I like sports? And I think one of the things that constantly amazes me is that these people can take the ball, drop back, and in the space of 2 seconds, scan the entire field, see who's going to be open or know who's going to be open, and make the release while large men are coming at them to kill them.
I honestly don't know how people catch footballs. I've never been able to do it successfully. It hurts.
I don't know how they throw the ball. Like, the way that they can release the ball almost effortlessly, like a flick of the wrist, and then it's going down 60 or 70 yards down the field. It's incredible.
I can't throw a football or catch a football.
I would be like Bart. They would be coming after me. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm just going backward. I'm holding onto the ball awkwardly. Help me.
I'm sorry, please stop. That would be my reaction too. So Bart had a pretty tough day. Homer tries to cheer him up, which only makes the team hate him more.
Do Reeky players get the game ball? Hey, everybody, let's hear it for Bart!
Give me a B.
I won't give you a B, but I'll tear you a new A. If I wasn't your friend, I'd tell you sucked.
You ruined our undefeated season! You ruined everything, ruiner! My sister likes you.
Listen here, Daddy's boy. You cost us one more game, and you're dead.
You're going to heaven.
That's not the best line to go out on. You're going to heaven.
Nah.
Ralph's had better non-sequiturs.
There are better Ralph lines than that.
It's a very sweaty Ralph line.
I mean, he's saying, instead of saying you're going to hell, he's happy he's going to heaven when he's dead. Also, according to Simpsons World, it was Sherry who said that, so it's Terry who has a crush on Bart.
That's canon. Let's do it.
It's hard to tell otherwise. And you really do feel for poor Bart just being hated by everybody on the team. And again, Homer is such a bad coach, he just walks away and doesn't notice that everyone hates Bart. And gives him the game-winning ball, which is just like an added insult.
Game-losing ball.
Oh, yes, yeah. He must have stolen that from the winning team then. They're the ones who should get to have that ball.
Hey, everybody, we lost 52-0, but here's the game ball to remember it by.
It's a pity ball.
I forgot to mention, there's a cute sign joke I only caught this time, too. When they're beating the team that has a 0 on their scoreboard, they're Victory City, and that they have 0.
Oh, okay.
That's a cute gag.
I like that.
Now we go to commercial break, and when we come back, we've got our big guest, Kat. Who is Joe Namath?
Okay, Joe Namath was the quarterback of the New York Jets. He was Willie Joe Namath, and he had that wild hair that made Homer's mother become a feminist or something.
Exactly. Homer didn't know, but the man who radicalized his mother, it was in his backyard briefly.
Wow.
He
looks like a girl.
He was the original party animal, celeb. He wasn't just really good at throwing the ball. He was a superstar. He was in Playboy. He had the mink coat. He had a Fu Manchu, and he got paid $10,000 to shave it off. He was a tabloid guy.
Oh, didn't he also advertise like nylons once and said, if they make me look this good, imagine what they look like on a lady?
Yes, he did. So he was a ladies' man. And of course, famously, he made the guarantee that so his team, the Jets, were playing the Baltimore Colts, who were widely regarded as one of the best teams of all time at the time. And it was the AFL versus the NFL, and there were two separate leagues. They were playing in the big Super Bowl, and at the past two Super Bowls, the teams had just kicked the living crap out of the AFL team. So Joe Namath responded to a heckler by saying, I guarantee we're going to beat the Baltimore Colts. And that's what they did. And it famously gave the AFL legitimacy. It paved the way for the merger that became the modern NFL. Joe Namath went out, continued to be a superstar, though he was a famous drunk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a huge alcoholic. And
it wasn't vapor luck?
He shouldn't be. Yeah, that was just a drunk driving accident. Yeah.
There was a story of how apparently he had some thugs hold down a journalist and beat the crap out of him in a bar while he was extremely drunk.
Whoa.
Years later, in like 2003, 2004 maybe, he was at a Jets anniversary game, and he was being interviewed by Susie Colbert of the ESPN, and he was like, I don't care about the Jets. I just want to kiss you, Susie, on the air. And he apologized, and a couple weeks later checked into rehab. So
oh, boy, man.
What does it mean to you now when the team is struggling?
I want to kiss you. I couldn't care less about the team struggling.
Yeah.
And did he injure himself in some way? Is that why he limps away at the end of the scene? Did he have a football injury or something? A famous injury?
I think that he was oft injured, perhaps. I think he had knee problems was his big thing.
They make him limp away as if he has like some sort of knee issue.
Well, perhaps he, as a professional footballer, probably going to have extremely sore and stiff and painful knees and that kind of thing.
I remember there was that great gag in the next football episode of The Simpsons of the world's oldest NFL NFL player.
Yes.
They're getting a little older these days, right? I mean, hell, Terry Bradshaw must be in his 70s or something now.
Well, Tom Brady's still playing. He's like 42. But
wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, but there's some players who will definitely live a long time, and there's some players who are dying not long after they get out of the NFL and start.
Well, Joe Namath's still with us too, I believe.
Still with us.
Yeah,
He
you know,
is.
should I play the anti-death jingle?
Nah, he's not that old.
But you never know these football players.
I want to exercise our powers.
Okay,
We'll find out if they work.
Well, here's Joe Namath making quite a funny appearance here in this like great parody of like a sports commercial.
Oh, it's gonna take a miracle for me to become a good quarterback.
Excuse me, son.
Wow, Joe Namath.
That's right. My car broke down in front of your house.
I cannot believe you are here. Do you think maybe you could give me some pointers?
Sure. There's only one thing you need to know to be a great quarterback.
Joe, honey, I fixed it. It was just vapor lock.
Oh, oops. Hey, look, I gotta run. Remember what I told you.
Okay, Bart, concentrate.
Remember what I told you. Just one thing. My car broke down. I'm Joe Namath. My car broke down.
It was just vapor lock. Vapor lock. Vapor lock. Vapor lock.
I'm dead.
That's so great.
It's my favorite scene of the show.
I love that. I also
Is that
like
line
how
of the episode.
Sure. Yeah, I like it a lot.
That's the joke.
I do love the rotating head device, which is something that Al Jean and Mike Reese used a lot. But
We haven't had that in a long time.
we have not, and I love the two different readings for "My car broke down." My car broke down.
I'm Joe Namath.
I'm Joe Namath.
And I think he gives a very natural line reading of like, "Oh, hey, I gotta go." Like
Yeah.
it's a very real. You know,
He's good. He's good at this scene.
It feels like he said that a lot of times. Like, I gotta get out of here, guy. Sorry, I gotta go.
He's did a lot of commercials in his day. He's on film.
Donna Carey jokes on the commentary that they're like, "Oh yeah, we'd worked with him. I'd worked with him on Late Night, and know that he's a guy who will say yes if you ask him to do something. So we got him." And
that woman looks kind of like his wife at the time.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
kind of.
But it's Bart's imagination of her.
He's imagining a woman. He knows what Joe Namath's wife looks like. He's a little boy in 1997.
I mean, he knows who Joe Namath is when Joe Namath never played a game while Bart was alive. Yet he's heard of him.
I mean, he's famous.
Yeah. But though Bart also doesn't care about football, so.
But this is the kind of thing where like Mike Scully grew up watching Joe Namath,
Yeah.
and therefore, of course, he's going to have him come on.
Well, this is a hilarious scene, but it's also a very Mike Scully thing that when he would cast famous people, they were very overtly themselves in most cases. Though this wasn't like for like star power, like, hey, come see NSYNC on the show or whatever. But it very much is like, we got Joe Namath, he's playing Joe Namath. We're not hiring an actor to play a character. We got Joe Namath to be Joe Namath.
But there was a bit earlier where Sandy Koufax is on the show, but he never says anything.
Yeah.
It's just like, you think Sandy Koufax is the Nope, absolutely not.
It would be funny if the only guest in the football episode would be a baseball player. And just as like, just one thing. And so after this, Bart decides that he's got to get out of it, and he's going to need to lie to Homer. And quite a lie he has cooked up here.
Dad, I got some bad news.
Oh, your mother's not pregnant, is she?
No, I got hit by a couple of cars. I won't be able to play today. Yes!
Oh, boy. Well, I'll just have to go to my backup plan. Nelson, how's your arm feeling?
Great!
Good. Take this note over to the referee.
We forfeit?
What?
Come on, guys. We can't play without Bart. He's the heart of this team.
No, I'm not. I suck.
It's true. He does.
Yeah, he does.
Don't listen to them, son. I have total faith in you.
You don't get it, do you? I don't want to be your stupid quarterback. I quit.
What? Well, I got news for you, mister. You can't quit. You're cut. You too, Milhouse.
All right.
I was Milhouse.
Throwing his jockstrap down in freedom, which he might, I guess it was Velcroed together, how he rips it off so easily.
How'd you take off your jockstrap without taking off your pants? I don't know.
And then Homer's immediate thing is like, another kid? Oh no, is that the bad news? When Bart is covered in bandages, that maybe should be what Homer thinks. And also the way there's a lot of, they remind me of Dave Merkin era again, of just, there's so many great misdirects in this. And one of the ones is like, how's your arm? Great. Then hand him this note.
This episode ends on a great misdirect. We'll get to it though.
One of the best. Yeah. And yeah, that Bart has to be someone says like, I'm not good. Stop it. And actually, that's not the act break, though. It totally feels like it is.
It should be.
Go out on Milhouse throwing his jockstrap down. But when we come back, we've got an uncomfortable dinner.
Oh, God.
So, like I said, I've never had a tick burrow in so deep.
Ugh.
Little guy's just got a mind of his own.
Mom, please, we're eating.
Well, at least I'm making conversation.
May I be excused, Mom?
Oh, so now you're quitting dinner, too.
Homer, please.
I didn't raise him to be a quitter, Marge. It must have been you. You've quit every job you've ever had. Cop, pretzel vendor, church counselor, professional gambler.
He's doing what he thinks is best.
Well, if quitting is the best, maybe I should just quit my job.
Hooey, hooey.
Mr. Burns, this is Homer J. Simpson, the father of the big quitter. Well, I just wanted to tell you I'm a big quitter, too. And I quit.
Homer, Mr. Burns can't see you winking.
So...
I love that
Isn't there an episode where Homer tells Bart that he's like, yeah, you quit, kid. You quit.
Yeah, no, when he tells him that if something's hard to do, you don't do it.
Yeah.
Like that's what he tells him about his guitar playing. But this Homer is turned around. Well, I mean, Homer is inconsistent in all things, so
Yes.
I am not holding that against him. But
Sure.
I also do, I love a great joke about referencing previous episodes. So he brings up all the jobs Marge has had recently.
Well, how many jobs does Homer quit?
There's a joke coming up where he names all of his jobs, including homophobe.
Yes, yeah. That's we got a couple.
We're in
years
season
of
9. It's
podcast
time to get
with that.
self-referential.
Well, Mike Scully is feeling the weight of the series here, and also they're all feeling like, well, the show's almost done.
Yeah.
It's been on so long, and they aren't even a third of the way through at this point.
I'm here to shut off the lights. Oh, wait. In fact, when I was looking up this episode, it said Simpsons Classic, Bart Star. And I was like, it is classic at
22
this
years
point.
old, yeah.
Oh, my God. That's so long ago.
How often does Marge get attacked by ticks? Too?
That's
I
great.
wonder. She needs to.
She just thinks they're neat.
She thinks everything's neat. She's
Yeah.
very positive in that way. It keeps her from going crazy.
Though she's going to get Lyme disease at one of these times from a spirochete. That's in
Does
the
that mean
tick.
you're crazy?
No, it means she's faking it. It's a little both. And there's a nice little return to a hoy hoy.
That's great.
Too. And that by hanging up on Burns there, he did just lose his job. Like, he didn't tell
Yeah.
Burns it was a joke. He just has to count on Burns sundowning at this time and that he's not going to remember it anyway.
Yeah, he doesn't remember who Homer is in the next episode, or actually later in the season. Sorry.
Yes, yeah. It's still most of the season. We come into the game without Bart. Nelson is winning. He's doing awesome. He passes a football to himself.
He's got to quit smoking.
I wish they'd shown him smoking on screen. That would have been funny. And then we get a big time cameo in this one.
I gotta quit smoking.
We drove 2,000 miles for this. We're in the championship. Way to go, team.
Gee, thanks, Coach.
Great game, son. Come on. I'm taking you to Hooters.
I don't want to bother Mom at work.
Well, Bart, looks like it's just you and... Oh.
So yeah, Hank Hill, boy.
Hank, Bobby, Luann, and Peggy are there, but that's Mike Judge.
And Bill and Boomhauer, I think, are in the background too.
Oh, yes,
in
yeah.
the upper Bill, maybe Dale too. Yeah,
But they're all drawn to look like them in their show with
their skin color too.
They're
right?
not yellowed
Yeah.
like say Jay Sherman was.
So I saw Mike Judge just recently.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I think I know why.
I have good news for you, by the way. He talked about going on InfoWars.
Oh, yeah.
And he said that he called Alex Jones, quote, a local kook, who was kind of funny at the time, and now he's, quote, gone completely nuts.
All right. That's good. That's good.
We saw him a few years ago doing a King of the Hill live reading, which was great.
He's cool there.
Yeah, he was talking about Office Space, so that was a lot of fun.
At SF Sketchfest, the
Yes.
show that we also did.
Yeah.
Not to brag.
We're as good as Mike Judge. It's official.
We're equals.
I was also at that show, and that was fun.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yes, guys, listen back to that and see if you can catch.
I was the one
Pat's
going,
laugh in the
yes.
background. That we changed your mind. That was
You changed my mind.
Awesome. But yeah, this is kind of risky because I assume this was being written just before King of the Hill was premiering, so they didn't know if King of the Hill was like a notorious flop or like a major failure. I have a feeling that scene would be cut out completely
easily.
Yeah, it's easily chopped out. But King of the Hill was a big hit in its first season, and its next 2 seasons too. So
yeah, season 2 was airing right beside this episode too. That's maybe too why. So it's so easy to cut out. They don't even have him interacting with like Homer or any character. It's just that they beat Arlen, that they came 2,000 miles, though that doesn't let you know where exactly Springfield is because, Texas is all tucked away down there, but it's 2,000 miles from a lot of America.
it's a radius you can draw around it. But look forward to Talking of the Hill, our entire first season exploration of King of the Hill, only on the Patreon at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons, coming up in March.
So this brings me to my other point of the grand unifying theory of The Simpsons. I think that The Simpsons are on the East Coast.
I mean, there's evidence to point to that and evidence to point away from that.
They've gone through hurricanes. It snowed. There's a lot of East Coast kind of seaside culture. Obviously they live in all parts of the country at all times because Springfield is teleporting around. And actually, I think it's based on Portland.
Lots of it is.
I mean, as Matt Groening envisioned it early, it was based on the Portland he grew up in. So yeah.
So when Hank says we drove 2,000 miles for this, that tells me that they're on the East Coast.
But if they were in Scully's Springfield that he grew up in was in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And I think his Springfield has a more East Coast vibe to it, which I think I would bet Massachusetts is 2,000 miles from Texas.
And also, Homer has a huge grudge against Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Yeah. He really hates Massachusetts. He wants Sideshow Bob to go back to Massachusetts.
Go back to Massachusetts.
People don't. It is now California is taken over as the scapegoat.
I was going to say
that.
that. Yeah, people are so afraid of California. It's great,
and they should be. We're very scary.
We got all the money.
Got all the money. We got all the food. You got nothing.
The best legal marijuana money can buy.
Take that, Denver. But yeah, it was interesting to see them there though. And they got Mike Judge. It annoyed me on the commentary. We were watching the commentary a little beforehand, and when they go like, "Hey, there they are." I was like, this is a commentary. Tell me how you got Mike Judge on the show. What the
Was there conspicuous silence? I forget.
There were a lot of silences in
Yeah.
that one. It's hard to wonder why. I mean, they could just be talking about specific coaches and naming them by name, and maybe that gets cut out.
Or Scully saying Fox made us put Hank Hill in this episode.
Ooh, could be that.
Yeah.
Could be that. And we do get to see that is Nelson's dad as he looked in Brother from the Same Planet.
But not voiced by Phil Hartman.
Who is still with us at this time. He could have done it.
We talked about this before, but in 2004, Nelson's dad comes back with a new design, and that episode is very much about where his dad went.
Ah, okay.
Sleeping with the Enemy, 2004 episode.
He drives off after dropping him off at Hooters.
To get cigarettes.
We go to the Quickie Mart. Homer is looking for some Skittlebrow.
Perhaps he dreamed it.
And so I did look this up. There, according to Google, there is no like beer with candy in it that is commercially sold.
What was that dumb soda that had like little orbs floating in it, like little candy orbs? Like
I forget that one. Well,
it was of the Fruitopia '90s kind of like weird hippie soda crap.
In Japan, I have had a canned soda of that type that had like, gumballs in it or gummies in it, not gumballs.
I think boba tea is just what Homer wants now. How do we feel about boba tea at this table?
I'm pro boba tea.
I'm not a big fan.
Damn.
Hate it.
I don't like the big straw.
Oh, but
I hate the.
don't you like feeling that slippery glue hit the back of your throat?
It's like eating tadpoles.
I hate the tapioca.
Yeah.
When you drag on the straw too hard, then it just slams the back of your throat.
They
and
fire
you start
back,
coughing.
you die.
Where I used to live in San Francisco had, I would swear to God, at least 2 bubble tea joints per block. They were everywhere.
Has that calmed down some? A couple have closed here that I used to know
Well,
about
I
my
mean,
block.
they hit critical mass, and at least a couple had to close, I guess.
In Berkeley, where we live and record, there's like 7 poke bowl places. I love them.
I wish I could also...
There's a lot of them.
I wish I could nuke that from orbit. I hate poke bowls.
Whoa.
It's just yummy fish
No.
in a bowl. What do you want?
It makes me sick.
But what, you don't like sushi?
I don't like sashimi.
Okay, well, you're wrong.
Yeah,
your feelings are wrong.
I would rather just have nigiri.
You could eat sashimi on top of rice and eat it with the
This
rice.
is the most
It's
California
good.
conversation
It's
we've
good.
ever had.
Sear that tuna. It's even
I mean,
better.
okay, if I had to pick
True.
between sashimi or nigiri, I'd pick that. I'd pick nigiri, but
yeah.
I still like sashimi. But I mean, the pairing with nigiri and the rice just feels right to me. I like that more. But though, I will say for my Google search, though, it says that one beer snob website had a list of Halloween candies and what beer pairs best with them.
Oh, yuck.
Well, Bob, what I can give you the answer, but what, in your opinion, would be the best beer to pair with Skittles?
Skittles. I would say something not that sweet, so maybe a stout.
My first thought was oatmeal stout.
Really? Okay, yeah.
Or like a chocolate stout.
Well, according to this brewery site, it is a white IPA.
No.
Not an IPA, no.
I like IPAs, but IPA and Skittle together, that's just like, it's too much.
There's a reason they call it Skittle Brow. This is brown beer.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess try it for yourselves at home, folks. Let us
Apparently,
let us know.
people have tried to make Skittle Brow.
I've seen it on the internet. It's gross.
I have no doubt.
It turns out they dissolve in beer, and it's disgusting.
It's like people who tried to make their own butter beer.
Ooh, that's dangerous. You can only do that if you have magic.
Or if you go to Disney.
No, Universal. Universal has
My
some-
bad. Oh, I'm turning in my nerd cred right now.
It'll be Disney soon enough. Don't worry.
They'll buy it too. It's also, well, a nice design on the bag Homer gets. He asks for, a couple 6-packs and some Skittles. And the bag, when it moves around, looks like it contains a 6-pack of beer in it.
Yeah.
So, good plus there, Dominic Pulcino. Bart and Homer make up, and the only thing that dates this is just like, I mean, does a 7-Eleven have, in 97, did they even have arcade machines in them anymore? I would figure they'd become unaffordable.
I think that, they would still have a few hanging around from the earlier 90s.
I definitely had never seen an arcade machine in a 7-Eleven.
Really? Okay.
But
weird.
also, I had never seen a 7-Eleven.
We didn't have 7-Elevens, but there were arcade machines in like the mud room or whatever of a convenience store or the entryway or whatever you want to call it.
I'd seen a few. I mean, not as much as you'd see it, say, at a movie theater or a pizza parlor.
Yeah.
I saw them in pizza joints, and that was it.
I want to apologize. I just got so caught up trying to encourage you, I was blinded to your stinky performance. If you forgive me, I promise I'll never encourage you again. I've got lots of quarters.
This thing only takes dollars.
Tomorrow's the championship game, and I could sure use a good offensive tackle.
But I thought Uter took my place.
Consider him cut.
That is very late 90s to be like, oh, this arcade machine only takes dollars.
As a kid, I liked that joke.
They weren't getting that expensive depending on what you wanted to play.
Well, it was like you had the biking game with the balloons, and that was like $2.
Or like something
Way too
like
much.
Time Crisis.
Or Jurassic Park, the game.
Yeah.
In Japan, that's why Japanese arcades are still alive. You just plug in like a couple $100 yen, and you're like, oh, whatever, it's 2 coins. Boom, boom.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a difference in currency and culture there. Like 100 yen coin. When I've, vacation in Japan, I always have like a couple 100 yen coins on me.
I always have a few thousand yen bills just kind of around and be like, just stick one in. As opposed to, if I put $10 into a machine, I'm like, absolutely not. It's way too much money.
It feels like Monopoly money when you're in another country. Just
It's
like,
true, yeah.
Here, take my colored paper.
But especially in Japan.
Money's not even real, guys.
But I also, that feels like one of Scully's kids told him at some point, arcade machines don't take quarters anymore. Dad.
Oh, no, they take quarters. You just plug in 8 of them.
You need a lot of quarters. And that catfight machine, that had to be the first time Skank has been said on The Simpsons, I think, at that point. Not to be confused with the Ben Stiller character Skank.
Or the dance.
We're seeing the progression of video games, catfight.
Yeah, so this is their Mortal Kombat joke, or a newer Mortal Kombat joke, because they did that with Bloodstorm or Bone Storm.
Somebody was making a game like this in probably around 2012 or 2013.
Feels like a kind of game that would come out in 1997.
Yeah, I remember writing about it and getting people mad at pre-Gamergate times. So,
good times. We get a quick little electric football joke, which I only got because the critic did an electric football joke.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up in the 70s. I didn't have an electric football machine.
Baffling toy. Video games exist now. Don't worry about it.
Video games existed in the 70s too.
That was more of a 60s toy, I think.
True.
I mean, it was probably cheaper to get electric football than a Pong machine. I would bet.
I would gather.
Wow, Homer coaching in the championship game. You must be pretty proud of your son.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Time for one last play, Coach.
Hold on, I'm working it out. Okay, half of you vibrate that way. 2 of you fall down. Nelson, you just spin around in a circle.
All right, I've got an arrest warrant here for Nelson Muntz. Which one of you little punks is Muntz?
Oh no, my quarterback. What are we gonna do?
It's okay, Dad. I can fill in for Nelson.
Are you sure, son? I knew I could count on you.
And it's a great cut to what happens to Bart. I laugh every time.
Yeah,
I knew it was happening. I knew the twist, but I laugh every time it happens.
Just a smile on all their faces. They know Bart is saying he's going to turn himself in for Nelson, and they're all fine with it. But just you think that it's going to be him finally fulfilling. He's like, I am ready to be quarterback, Dad. I can do this.
Also, in this alternate universe, Chief Wiggum is A, confident in his job, and B, doesn't know who Bart is.
Doesn't remember who Bart is from all of his experience, or even just his son being on the same football team as both Nelson and Bart. But
makes you feel a lot better just thinking about it in terms of alternate universes, I think.
I just can't let go of the continuity. It has to be one universe.
The continuity.
Wiggum is stupid, though.
He is
They can get away with this joke.
And also the quick gag about one last Abe is awful gag. Just that him saying, like, you'd think so, wouldn't you? And then he just falls asleep. Like, that's funny, but what makes it funnier is just how hurt Marge is by she just looks to the ground. So sad.
He's wearing a lucky red hat.
Yeah.
He stole it from Ned.
Thanks for ruining red hats for us forever, Donald Trump.
True. They have a new meaning now. It's now the racism hat.
If I see red hats now, I tense up and I'm like, oh wait, no, that's just a random sports hat. Okay.
I had that today. I had that exact thing. Like red hat. Oh, okay, cool. I mean, people wouldn't proudly wear red hats in this area. You would think that we live in our liberal bubble.
Yeah. Also, don't think you're clever with your parody hat of that because it just looks like that hat.
I hate any MAGA parody because I'm like, no, this is not funny enough to make it worth reminding me of that.
Here's my swastika parody.
So hilarious, this swastika. Okay, well, anyway, the last bit here, Bart turns himself in, Nelson wins the game, and we get one last screw you done. Poor old Bart here.
So what's the charge, Chief? Vandalism? Smoking?
You know what you did, Muntz. Burglary and arson. You're going away for a long time.
What?
Poor Bart. You know, we had a lot of fun tonight, but there's nothing funny about vapor lock. It's the third most common cause of car stallings. So please, take care of your car and get it checked. I'm Joe Namath. Good night.
Oh, he's so great at that fake sincerity. He's like, I'm Joe Namath.
I love it's like, poor Bart.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's so funny.
I think that was a callback to Joe Namath being a commercial pitch man, but also having him be so aggressively lame that he cares about Vaporlock goes completely against his image as Playboy Joe Namath, who gets all the gals, right?
I also think it's funny that this episode jokes about a lot of dark topics, but the one thing he says isn't funny is
Vaporlock.
Is Vaporlock. Like, we joke about a lot of things, but you know it's not funny? Vaporlock. All the things
slightly inconvenienced him.
And it's the number 4 cause.
Number 4, that's right. Car stallage.
It's a pretty good cameo.
Yeah, it's really, there are some lame celebrities in the Scully years, but Joe Namath is one of the better ones. I really like this whole appearance.
They had a lot of fun with them, I think.
Over the credits, Homer cuts everybody.
Yeah, some great. I love just letting Dan go wild with the improv. My favorite of them is saying that, like, Joe Namath, you stay. Like, that's the one person he doesn't cut. He has that much sense, at least, that he should not cut Joe Namath from the team.
Kind of reminds me of the Homer at the Bat where he's cutting. So you're benching me, coach?
Oh yeah, it's how smart managers win ball games. And we'll hear that over the outro of this episode too. So don't worry, folks, you'll hear it.
This was Bart's star, named after Bartlett Star. We buried the lead there.
Oh yes, yeah.
It was the thing that Homer was watching in Brother from the Same Planet. He was retiring, and the team was like, Bart, 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 and then Sands Homer was like, Bart, Bart, Bart.
Wow,
yeah.
I totally forgot that.
Yeah, it's like we say goodbye to Craig Bartlett Star, and everyone's chanting Bart.
Yeah,
Craig Bartlett. Wait a minute.
But also screw Bart Star.
What did he do?
He played for the wrong team.
String him up. I think he's dead.
But this was a funny sports episode, but they've done so many sports episodes to this point on The Simpsons that they're kind of retreading some things. And
it's Lisa on Ice, but on it's not punched up
but
enough.
Homer wasn't the coach there, so
I know, but it's a different episode. But I got the same sort of vibe. It's like kids sports doing that kind of thing. It's football instead of hockey now.
Also, put your tweets down. I know it was Brian Bartlett Star.
Oh, okay, good.
And he's still alive.
I mean, I think the episode gets better as it goes along because I think a lot of the health fitness center jokes are kind of aggressively lame, but
it's a weaker opening, which is kind of the reverse. A lot of the Scully years are more about a wild and funny opening that then at like minute 9 gets to the plot of the episode. Instead, they're at the fitness fair for like maybe 3 minutes, and then it's football time.
The Joe Namath head fakes for, I think, easily the best part of this episode.
Yeah, I do think it's not the best sports episode or like best kids in competition episode that Scully does best, but I think it's a pleasant episode, and I love the Namath stuff. I also like all the fake outs, including the Lisa fake out, even though it sells her out a little bit. So yeah, I'm enjoying Bart Star, even though I don't like football.
ESPN ranked all of the sports episodes / sports moments in The Simpsons, and I think this one came in number 6.
Okay.
That's fair.
This has been Talking Simpsons. Thanks for listening, folks. Kat Bailey, you're our special guest today. Where can we find you online and listen to all of your stuff? And read it, perhaps.
I'm Kat Bailey. I can't remember if I said Willie Joe Namath or Joe Willie Namath, but
it's Willie Joe?
It's Joe Willie.
Joe Willie.
Joe Willie.
Please don't have every other comment on this post be about...
That's why I corrected myself, too.
Yeah. But yeah, if you enjoy my appearance on this show, you can find me my day job at US Gamer. I don't talk about sports that much, except when I'm reviewing sports games, which I also do.
Inappropriate.
If you want to see me complain about my sports teams, you can go on Twitter at @the_catbot. Right now, I'm complaining about my soccer team, West Ham, because they're not good. But that's all of my sports teams.
Well, thank you so much for your jock insights.
Jocks.
Kat.
It's a very jocular discussion.
I am very jockey.
As for us, we are part of the Talking Simpsons Network. It funds everything that we do. And if you want to support the show and get lots of bonus podcasts on top of that, go to patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons. And for the low, low price of $5 a month, you'll get all kinds of bonus podcasts, exclusive miniseries like our upcoming Talking of the Hill that we just mentioned. That's us giving the entire first season of King of the Hill the Talking Simpsons treatment. And that's only available to patrons at the $5 level, including all of the bonus podcasts we've done over the past nearly 18 months of this Patreon experiment. Henry, what else do we have?
Well, we have a ton of awesome interviews at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons for $5 and up patrons. You can hear us chat with Mike Scully, the executive producer of the season, plus previous showrunners like Mike Reese, Bill Oakley, Josh Weinstein, and writers like Dan Grady, and directors of the show like David Silverman and Mark Kirkland. Tons of that is there. And plus, if you'd like to step on up to the premium tier for $10 a month, oh boy, do you get a bunch of good, great stuff. You get all the old premium videos we did, like me and Bob going through the original Simpsons shorts in their entirety. And also last month, we did the season 8 deleted scenes commentary. You can see the video of that if you sign up at $10. But the king of the $10 pledge is our What a Cartoon Movie podcast, where each month me and Bob go through a different animated film in the same Talking Simpsons style. We've done Akira, we've done Kiki's Delivery Service, we've done Batman Mask of the Phantasm, and another one's coming up soon in February. So please consider upping your pledge to $10 a month at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons.
As for me, I've been one of your hosts, Bob Mackey. Find me on Twitter as Bob Servo, and my other podcast I do is Retronauts. It's a classic gaming podcast. It's at retronauts.com, or look for Retronauts in your podcast machine. We've been doing this since 2006, so I'm sure we talked about something you like. If you like video games, you know what? You should like video games. They're better than sports. There, I said it. I'll say it again if I had to.
I'm
Henry.
not going to disagree.
See, exactly. Even Cat agrees.
And if you want to hear some more anti-sports bias, you can follow me, Henry Gilbert, on Twitter at HENERUIG. I also tweet out when new podcasts go live, both for What a Cartoon and Talking Simpsons, and other things that are happening on the Patreon. Follow me there one more time. That's HENEREYG.
Thanks so much for joining us, folks. We'll see you next week for the 2 Mrs. Nahasa Pima Petalons. We'll see you then.
Scully, you're cut. Brooks, Graining, Simon, you're all cut. Castellaneta, gone. Kavner, cut. Cartwright, cut. Smith, sorry, cut. Azaria and Shearer, you're cut. Firestone, you're cut. So is Judge. Namath, you stay. All of those people are cut. Bill Schultzen, Wolf and Silverman. Cole Fryer, O'Brien, Doyle, Solomon, I don't know what you... Elliot, I don't know what you're doing here because you're all cut. Pietola, Ridge, and Kawawa. Now, there's so many cuts here. Look, I'll just post them up and you just see where your name is. Ooh, look at how many cuts there are there. Oh, boy. You're cut. All of you. He's cut. I cut you. Shh. You're cut too, Shushy. That's what I get for having faith in you.